How we doing there, boys and girls? Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let's rock and roll. Alrighty. A little birdie tells me the auction house is still on fire. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I think I was talking to a few people yesterday about this whole, auction house shenanigans. I don't really know what the solution is. The problem is I think it's gone past fixable. Well, sorry, no, it's not gone past fixable. It's gone past fixing the damage that's already been done. It's just a clusterfuck. We'll talk about it today, though. We'll go through it in detail. Let's log in. Let's have a look. Let's see what's going on. Let's investigate. Right. My main thing I want to do today is continue leveling on the alpha. I'm really keen to continue leveling. I didn't get much leveling done, I don't think, at all over the weekend. I played a little bit on Saturday, but I was investigating what was going on with the auction house. I had a little project on the go on Saturday that we can talk about a bit today. I can talk about it because I didn't particularly want to live stream it, because if I live streamed it, it was open to abuse. But for reference, I was playing the auction house a little bit. I was seeing just what it takes to flip and reset markets with these new commodities. Now, the problem is that after doing it, the auction house broke. So it didn't go particularly well. But I want to investigate what's going on. I want to see what's broken. More importantly, get some of your guys' opinions on it. And what do we think that Blizzard could actually do to fix this now? There are so many different bugs and borderline exploits that have been happening recently. Somebody indicating quite recently that there may potentially have been a dupe on Progenitor Essentia over on NA Realms. As all of a sudden hordes of level 1 alts were being created trying to sell huge quantities of POG essence via trade chat, which is always sus. I'm not sure there's a solution now without changing how the auction house works, e.g. new lower prices are locked in 5-minute windows. That way you'll have to load at the same price and it'll be easier with multiple people trying to buy the same thing. There is a definite problem here that it may quite simply just not be feasible without some serious infrastructure backing up to have a region-wide auction house. They are going to need like bank level technology to handle all of the transactions that are going on. And they clearly don't. This is the thing. At what point do Blizzard turn around and go, you know what, there's just too many data validation errors that are going to occur when you are hammering tens of thousands of transactions every minute, every hour, it's mad. But we'll see. Right, let me check I've got everything up and running before we dive too deep into this today. Let me check I've got all my windows open and get everything prepared. Let's turn the tunes down just a touch, as they don't need to be blasting quite so heavily. Well, I want to make a little list today. I want to make a little list and just try and work out exactly how many noticeably different issues we've had in the space of 7 days, right? The new auction house has not been up and running more than 7 days, and we can probably run out of fingers and toes to count the amount of issues that we've had. It's wild, actually wild. Right, what have we got in here? Lots of expireds. So things are expiring again. Things are actually expiring again. The problem is it's difficult. Well, one of the problems that we've seen is that auctions have been expiring and claiming to have been sold all at the very same time, which in theory shouldn't be possible. Pog Essence has not crashed on EU by the looks of things. It was completely busted on NA. Team NA was shit out of luck with Pog Essence the entire weekend, causing some very, very odd behaviour from people. It was a terrible plan from the start, but that was Blizzard for you. Well, the problem is that there was no real feasible way that they could test it. There is a distinct problem with... What is this spectral llama? Who the hell... What is... Hello? Why is there some sort of spectral... What are you? Hello? you... the one end of a horse. The hell is this? Alright, fine. Yeah, there's a significant problem that Blizzard haven't been able to test anything. There was no way for them to feasibly, you know, stress test the entire system. They thought about doing a stress test on the PTR, but the problem is that there was no way, even if you made it so that people were permanently buying and selling things on the PTR to simulate a stress test, that would still only be a handful of people doing it. That's not even a fraction of what actually happened. So there was no way to test it. You could simulate, you could probably mathematically simulate it, because this is kind of where, hardware tends to react in the same way until you scale it to a point where it just becomes too fast and then it all just crumbles. But where's that crumble point? And they definitely hit the crumble point. It's a front horse toy and a potion. Oh, okay. Sure. It's one way to change your appearance. Now it's dancing. Oh, okay. How we doing? You're obviously watching. Good morning to you. Lost 200k in total from the faulty cancel scans. Didn't see that it was duped because I have over 3k auctions running. See, this is the problem, right? People who are playing the auction house at any sort of reasonable scale, it's super difficult to, you know, to just spot things, right? Unless you're only selling 3 things and you notice that something goes wrong with 2 of them, you're unlikely to even realize in many cases that there's a bug. I was talking, like I said, I was talking to a few people yesterday, and I very quickly came to the conclusion that Blizzard are going to have to balance it up, right? It's going to be a toss-up for them. It's like, well, how many people has this inconvenienced? Now, to be inconvenienced is just annoying, but it hasn't, like, physically cost you anything. What's the difference between, you know, how many people have just been inconvenienced by the auction house not working properly, and how many people have actually had severe negative effects of the auction house? How many people out there have, in theory, lost gold? Has anybody actually been negatively affected by this? And we've seen lots of scenarios where people are claiming that auctions have been cancelled, but they've been sold, they've gained gold, and they've gained the item. There is lots of bugs that have been beneficial, artificially beneficial, but there's not really been all that many bugs that have been at a detriment to anybody. As far as we know, there's obviously the problem that buying anything on the auction house is a pain when it's bugged and it just says you can't buy stuff, but that's an inconvenience. People haven't actually been hard done by that in any way, shape or form. This is why I tend to think that Blizzard will take the auction house down. There's probably lots of things that will need to be done with an actual proper server reset, so that's going to come Tuesday, Wednesday. They'll take it all down, they'll refresh it, and they'll put it all back up, and they'll pretend nothing happened. It's one of those things that I think they just sweep it under the rug and wait till people forget about it. Wait till people, you know, the week before it was Slime Cat. Last week it was Auction House. This week it'll be something different. But they'll find something else to complain about, and then the problem will just kind of magically go away. Sure, a few people have probably made out like bandits because of exploiting bugs. Now, if it's considered an exploit, if Blizzard, it doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter what I think, but if Blizzard categorize what happened as an exploit, they'll ban people. That's all they'll do. They'll just ban a bunch of people. They'll ban a bunch of people, they'll slap a bunch of 14, 30-day bans on people, and they'll move on. Any duped gold or duped items very rarely gets removed from the system. Very, very rarely. There was scenarios a few days ago where people were claiming that like 100,000 gold had been taken off a character. That whole thing feels a bit odd. I tend to feel that that might have just been delayed. They might have bought things on the auction house and not paid the full price for them or something. I don't know. That's probably a separate issue completely, but generally speaking, they very rarely take items away or take gold away off people who have gained it in illegitimate ways. They just slap a ban on them. They slap a ban on them, and then there's a 50-50 chance that that player either completely quits or comes back and, you know, carries on as normal. That's probably the approach that I think they'll take. If it's just bugs, if it's just considered bugs, they'll reset the auction house. By reset the auction house, they reset the servers. They might possibly, now I don't think they probably want to do this, but they might cancel every auction and start fresh again. They might look at taking that approach, but the problem that caused was that there was then a huge spike, a huge flood of everybody posting everything, which was just like the equivalent of smashing, you know, a pane of glass with a hammer, causing, you know, a huge spike in transactions, way worse than what would probably normally be happening on a hour by hour basis. Yeah, I tend to think that there probably won't be much to do about this whole thing. My 200k was taken from 5 different characters, probably taking back the gold from cancelled auctions. Well, if gold was being created when auctions were being cancelled, there's a paper trail to that, right? There's a paper trail, and there was clearly something that went wrong. So in those scenarios, they can probably roll back those falsely acquired gains quite easily. That's probably just a little code and a little script that just does it. The problem is when you've got items on the auction house that are bugged, that people can't buy them, you're having auctions being sold for different prices. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on. A lot of other stuff that's not so easily trackable, traceable, fixable. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. It's been a weird week though, right? It's been a bit of a crazy week.
Hello there.
Jar Jar, hello there, welcome in. Please tell me your Twitch name is not in reference to Jar Jar Binks. They shouldn't take it from random characters, but from my auctioneer. Scared the hell out of me. Thought it was some sort of weak or a scam. Yeah, true. But they put it probably works in the same way as if you've ever ran out of game time and you log on and it says, would you like to buy a token for X amount of gold, and you click yes. It probably works the same way as that, in terms of that it just takes gold off like a random character on your account. It's more of an account level removal of gold than it is a per character one. That's probably how they would have recuperated that gold in the first place. But yeah, you're right. It probably should have been taken off the character, you know, you gained it on, but no sound on the alert. There was a hello sound alert. At least it went through my ears. Did it not go through yours? Jar Jar Binks is the best. Oh god. Oh god. I was one of those that lost gold the other night. I can tell you 100% it was a bug. Went through TSM and no random buys, etc. It's super difficult to work it all out, especially because people have been quite clearly people have been. I've seen this already. This was on the Red subreddit this morning. People claiming that when they get the little notification that says that something is sold and it's saying it's selling for a different amount, that's just a TSM UI bug. That's got absolutely nothing to do with the auction house. There are people misinterpreting very well-known issues with an add-on as to be something that is auction house related, which it's not their fault because it looks and appears as if it could be a bug, but it's not. That's just a UI thing. What do I need to do on retail though? I don't want to spend too much time on retail because the whole thing is just an absolute clown fiesta. But what I do want to do is repost a few bits and pieces. I have some sales, I have some expireds, lots of expireds. The sound was delayed, the animation popped up and it took about 20 seconds for the sound to play. Oh. Not sure. Lots of shadow gas ingots. Lots of shadow gas ingots. A lot more shadow gas ingots than any single person technically needs, but let's just put them all in a bank tab somewhere. Let's just put them all here for now, because I don't want to be dealing with them right now. Although putting them in a guild bank is going to be slow AF, so maybe I won't do that. Guild bank's still locked. They're always slow. For reference, do people understand why the guild bank is actually slow? There's a solid reason to why the guild bank is significantly slower than your main bank, and it's because of a validation check that they do. There's a validation check that happens because you're taking something from a personal inventory and depositing it at a public inventory. Even if your guild bank is technically you're the only person in the guild and you have permissions and that sort of stuff, it's still categorized as public space. And so there's a validation check that happens to prevent dupes. This is what might have to be the long-term fix for the auction house. Truth be told, the auction house just may end up being very slow. That may be the only way. That may be the only way that it can be maintained as region-wide if they slow down the speed of transactions to allow for extra validation of that transaction happening. Now, obviously, if in the real world, if you're a bank, you have just disgusting amounts of hardware and infrastructure and software running to do all of these validation checks instantly. And in the real world, there's even an element of trust. Like a transaction will go through, allow you to be on your way whilst the validation is still happening and the money is actually physically being transferred. They're probably using something similar behind the scenes to run the auction house anyway. But what will probably have to happen is that they will have to slow down the rate of transactions on the auction house to allow for this validation to happen. You know, an actual validation check that, right, is this item available? Take that item, put it into, you know, lock off that single item from being able to be purchased. Then has the player looking to buy that item got the gold available? Yes. Take both the gold and the item into a shared space, server side obviously. Then once everything is validated, you remove that entry from the database, and then once all of that has happened, then the next transaction can happen. This might mean that they would have to like allow for queued auctions. So say for example you want to, the simple way of doing this is when you go and buy something, it's simple in principle, probably not that simple to implement, but simple in terms of the fact if you wanted to come to the auction house and you wanted to buy lightless silk, you can see what the current listings are and you can say I want 10 pieces of lightless silk. But when you click buy, what that might do is put you in a queue and tell you that you are the 10th, the 8th, the 7th, the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd, the first person in that queue to buy the lightless silk. If when you get to the front of the queue, the auction there's still enough of a quantity left at the price that you wanted to pay, your transaction will go through. Otherwise, it will present a small box that may last 2 or 3 seconds. You may have to be very, quick to click on it to say, would you like to readjust the price that you pay? Yes, bang, then it happens. They would have to queue up every single transaction, which would make buying things off the auction house remarkably slow. Because for high traffic items, you may, it might take you 30 seconds to a minute to sit in that queue whilst all the transactions and all the people ahead of you who have placed, it's a mini work order system, but that might be the way that they would have to fix it. Having it trying to implement a regular auction house on a region-wide scale and having everything instant and reactive probably is just not all that feasible. It might already be doing that. Sometimes you get the notification that the price has been updated. Well, that's true. If I sit on this window for 5 minutes and then try and buy the ones at 2 gold, they're clearly not going to be there. So if I went to try and buy these now, price updated the cheapest available. What it might have to do is, instead of this occasionally popping up, what may happen is when you click buy, it just instantly brings this up and tells you that you're the 3rd, 10th, 500th transaction waiting to buy Lightless Silk. And as you can see, actually, there's already a timer here. If you take too long, this actually is a good indication that this might already be happening behind the scenes. There you go, you see. My place in the queue was null and void. I got kicked out of the queue because I took too long. So that might actually be some way of what they're doing to rectify this whole situation. Integrating a queuing system for buying things, even if it's not totally visible to you. That's interesting. I've not actually seen that little timer come up before. It's ruined a lot of the fun on the auction house so far if they don't fix it. They'll fix it. There's no question they'll fix it. Like I said, Blizzard are highly praised in the industry for having one of the most robust economies in any video game. There are other video game developers out there that would kill for the economy that World of Warcraft has been able to develop over the years. And they've got 15 years plus practice. That experience has taught them a lot. Obviously not taught them everything, because shit still goes wrong from time to time. But it's interesting that even Blizzard are not flawless in any way, shape or form. Even Blizzard are not flawless. Wow, look at the big cluster of these. See, this is what happened the other day, right? On Saturday, I want to say. I'm not going to do this again now. The reason I've got so many Shadowghast ingots is because I bought something like 70,000 Shadowghast ingots on Saturday. I managed to get a reset to about 46 gold, and then I spent the next hour or so just relisting Shadowghast ingots. And I sold a huge percentage of them very, very quickly at a really nice high premium. But the problem was that there is still the inherent issue of that there is considerably more supply than there ever is of demand. So I pretty much made my gold back, and I still have stock to spare. So I think I came out ahead eventually. But it took me a few hours of very dedicated reposting. It's super tempting to do it again. 2.5 million gold to buy out all these cheap Shadowghast ingots. The problem is currently is that your actual crafting cost on Shadowghast ingots is still less than this, so it's still super risky. You'd want this 80,000 Shadowghast ingots to be at like maybe 25 gold, not 29. But there is still the ability for big goblins to play around and to do things. There are the occasional opportunity there. There's the occasional opportunity, but they are few and far between. And to be honest, I'm not willing to play that aggressively, considering everything is so heavily busted at the moment. I'd rather wait until things kind of, you know, settle down a little bit. A Corthite crystal still broken. These were broken yesterday. You couldn't buy these. It looks like they've come in and they've reset Corthite crystals again. But there's clearly some sort of problem with just the speed of transactions that's causing things to lock up. And probably one too many invalid database entries causes an item to get completely jammed. Whoa! Who stole all the Essence of Valor? Where did all the Essence of Valor disappear to? There's less than 8,000 Essence of Valor on the auction house. Oh, it looks like somebody's done a reset anyway. That's quite funny. That's going to heavily incentivize people to start prospecting again. Where's the lithium at? There's still way too much lithium. This stuff is stupid cheap. It's outrageously cheap. Outrageously cheap. Spectral flasks are even dropping in value. They're dropping in value, but they're also dropping in quantity. Dropping in value and dropping in quantity. Maybe it's just a huge amount of expireds, possibly. Do you think some people lost a lot of gold when the new system got activated? Not really. Not really. This is the thing, right? I feel that some people have been inconvenienced by the auction house, but I don't think there's many people that have really, you know, been overly negatively affected by it. Because there's this long-term thought that, well, if you post something on the auction house at a price, and it's a price that you then later realize was less than what it could have been, that's on you. That's not an issue with the auction house. This is why it's gross. These lowball auctions that you see, like people, you know, the 1 silver listings and stuff, and people baiting other people to post their auctions on the auction house. It's kind of gross that people do it. It's really gross, in fact, that people do it. But there is the ownership. You should take ownership of that. When you go and post something on the auction house, you get the opportunity to type in how many you want to post. You get the opportunity to type in what price you want for them. You get the opportunity to set the duration. If you just randomly pay zero attention to any of this and just click go, that's a big fat you problem. If you get baited by somebody posting at 1 silver, then you should have paid attention. And this is kind of the approach, although Blizzard don't say it in quite such black and white terms. That's the approach that Blizzard take to it as well. It's an open marketplace. You can buy and you can sell things for whatever price you want. If you're not paying any attention and you get caught out by somebody baiting you, then that's as much your fault as it is anybody else's. And value is one of those things that we have this discussion quite frequently. But just because something is priced at a certain point, if material X is 10 gold and always has been 10 gold, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is worth 10 gold. It might be 10 gold, but nobody sells any. You might have to post it at 4 gold before you see people consistently buying it from you. Does that still mean it's worth 10 gold? Does that mean that you lost 6 gold? Well, no, not really. So this is it. It's a very much a personal perception thing in this scenario. And this is why I think that most people couldn't care less what's going on with the auction house right now, because it doesn't affect them. If somebody comes in to buy their flasks and they try to buy out 3 or 4 flasks to go raiding with that evening, and they can't buy their 3 and 4 flasks, it's a bit of an inconvenience to them. But guess what? They'll just ask a guild member, right, well, the auction house is fucked. Can you make me a couple of flasks, please? People just go old school. It's an inconvenience, but it's not like a big issue. It's, the problems are when, you know, items are duplicated, gold is being dished out unnecessarily. That's a problem, but anyway. I'm not going to be doing any big... I don't feel like doing any big plays on the auction house as it currently stands. For the one simple fact that... Yeah, for the one simple reason that I don't really have the time or the effort or the inclination to be playing with the auction house right now, because it's just chaos. Actual chaos. Right, let's see if I can get through all of these expireds at the very least. Get some stuff relisted. It's a fun little mini game trying to buy out the baits. Yeah. Oh, flip. I've filled my inventory with more Shadowgast ingots again. I'll sell the rest of these another day. I'm going to probably quite quickly jump onto the Wowhead economy report for this week, because this talks about the auction house. It's, you know, it's relevant. Mr. Samadan has done a good job putting together a little report for us, so. And then we'll hit up the alpha. I don't know why there's such odd stack numbers here. Can I... It's just going to fill my inventory back up with Shadowgast ingots, isn't it? No, we're good. Right, auctions. Hey, we sold that Alethea ore. That didn't take long. Let's do everything apart from material. Oh no, because there's going to be... Alright, yeah, sure. That might prevent the scan from being super slow. Lots of people are complaining that TSM is really slow. And it's only slow when dealing with commodity items. If you just select everything and click post, your scan will be really slow, because it takes ages to check each commodity. If you try and limit the amount of groups that you have selected that have commodities in, your scan is still reasonably normal in terms of speed. Still not great, but what is with the auction house right now? Has it locked up? No, it's still thinking about it. I've seen on 2 rails that both shrouded cloth bags and sharpening stones are being sold for a lot less than the crafting cost, even though the material cost has dropped. Do you think people are selling out their stock, or what could it also be? Yeah, people are done. People are done. There are many people now that we are about to hit a very aggressive decline in value on everything, because people are done. We've had now all of the fated raids. Now it's just on repeat. It's just on rinse repeat now. People are now at the point where they'll just sell out. They'll just cash out. They'll cash out so they don't have to worry about it. Most people don't care about crafting cost after a given point. If you're repeatedly crafting things in the effort to make gold, then sure. But when you get to the realization that you're pretty much done with the expansion and the content right now, people just purge. They just purge it. They'd rather get it sold for something rather than nothing. They don't want it sat around in their bags. They don't want it sat around in a guild. Most people don't even probably have TSM properly set up to actually give them semi-accurate crafting costs anyway. We see this at the end of every expansion, and it's likely to be even more aggressive this time round due to the way the auction house now works with materials. you will find people just posting anything for anything just to get some gold for it. Because the God's honest truth is most people are done. Most people are like, right, Shadowlands is over for me now. I'll come back when Dragonflight's a thing. Because what, you know, if you've got your slime cat now, most people are done. There's no actual content really. People got the slime cat and then they'll just wait. Yeah, I mean, it's just Dragonflight waiting room now. People are not bothered. Right, we're gonna check the Wowhead economy report this week. Samadan put that together for us. Let's take a little looky. Let me get the link for people. I'll just borrow this tab. Right, we'll take a little bit of a look at this. Did I give you guys the link? There's the link to the article. This is number 241. Now my Twitch dashboard says there's ads about to play, so enjoy some ads. There's potentially ads playing for a bunch of people right now, so I'll throw it up to the ad break screen just for a minute. I'm going to go grab myself a drink real quick, because my coffee's ran out, and then we'll have a look through this. Back in 2 minutes. Alrighty, boys and girls, let's take a little bit of a looky then. There's the ad he was talking about. Yeah, good old Twitch in there. Their ads. I'm surprised we even got an ad, to be honest. Right then, so let's take a little look at. In fact, hang on. I make this mistake every time. I'm gonna kill that god awful noise in the background for this. Right. Let's take a little look. Auction house for everybody. Ironic name. Ironic. Considering only minutes before this post went live, Blizzard took down the auction house for everybody. So, if you actually look at the Wowhead Just real quickly, if you look at the Wowhead posts, there was, where is it? The irony in this was so funny. This made me chuckle. Shadowlands World of Warcraft auction house is offline. 20 minutes later, Samadan, auction house for everybody. Nope, auction house for nobody. The simple things do make me giggle. But anyway, let's take a little bit of a look. So, surprise, surprise, it's the commodities that we're going to be talking about in this week's economy wrap-up. First of all, big shout out to Samadan. He puts this little article together for us weekly over on the Wowhead blog. Does a cracking job of it. There at the same time every week, like clockwork. So big shout out. Thank you very much for that. Make sure you go check out Samadan on his YouTube or go say hi on Twitter. But what have we got today then? So there's the big auction house for everybody, which has caused a bit of chaos. An increase in the price for Penumbra Thread, which caught people by surprise. And then some further reading for those that want to dive in a bit deeper. So, earlier this week, 9.2.7 was released, which combined the auction house for all realms into one big region-wide pool, but only for commodity items. What is a commodity? Basically anything that stacks and uses this interface where you automatically buy from the bottom, buy from the cheapest. I think most of us have figured this one out by now, at least. This resulted in a huge spike of activity as players realised they could achieve nearly instant sales on many goods that they had lying around, and that there were bargains to be had on the other side by purchasing due to much increased activity and people offloading goods. The auction house was alive. Then it buckled under the pressure. Sure it did. It didn't buckle. It was like putting an entire elephant on the back of a donkey. Donkey didn't stand a chance. It was closed for a while. Some players were locked out, but then managed to hold up over the immense activity, although it is currently offline whilst they investigate a slew of bugs of unbuyable auctions. So yeah, it wasn't exactly smooth sailing. Insert this is fine meme. Yeah, with the world just on fire. So yes, for a period of time. For a period of time yesterday, they actually took the auction house offline completely. Not entirely sure what they did during that period in time, because it came back up and in theory, or at least at face value, practically nothing had changed. But like I said, there's a thought process. I have a thought process that sort of would indicate that for these items that are getting locked, right? It happened on Progenitor Essentia. I think the problem is that it just gets caught in a death spiral. The servers just get caught in a death spiral in terms of there's so many transactions happening on that item. People both furiously posting and cancelling auctions, and people buying and people selling, all at the same time. That it just gets caught in this death spiral, and on the server side, it's probably just got, the the buffering loop is on the go, and sometimes it probably takes somebody to actually go in and go, right, just stop that, reload. But to do that, they might need to actually take the auction house offline, which is a very infrequent thing that happens. I can probably count on one hand the amount of times the auction house has gone down. Like completely, the fact that they've just turned it off. Apart from obviously server resets every week, but that's because you don't have access to the game. The amount of times that you've had access to the game, but not the auction house, count them on one hand in like 10 years. Yet this past week, the auction house has been up and down like a yo-yo. On and off like every other hour. The stability of it all has been pretty poor, to be honest. But Blizzard actually came out and said something, which goes to show that there really must have been, a lot of people complaining about this. We are aware of a bug that is causing some items to get stuck in invalid listings. This is a priority for us to fix. However, we expect the fix to take 2 to 3 more days. We'll let you know as soon as this fix is deployed. This indicates to me that the only way that they're actually able to fix this is via like a full server reset. They can't hotfix this in. That probably means some serious amount of code is being changed behind the scenes to get this to actually work as expected. And the 2 to 3 days is conveniently as and when they normally do their weekly reset. So we'll see if it fixes itself in a couple of days. A lot of the broken auctions were still there when it came back up, but gradually disappeared in the hours after. I have a suspicion that they have some sort of cleanup script in place to remove them. See, this is it. That's the kind of thing that they can probably hotfix in. But that's a band-aid, right? That's like sticking a plaster over a fire hydrant. It's really not all that effective. You kind of need a proper fix, right? The proper fix is the actual new coding, the new software, whatever goes in place. Probably needs a full server reset to happen. But what's been happening with the prices then? The prices of stuff have been also going up and down like a yo-yo. Some commodity items more so than others have, well, pretty much, I'd say 9 out of 10 commodity items have taken a noticeable dip in their value. But we spoke about value earlier in terms of just because something is frequently listed at a certain price doesn't necessarily mean that's its actual value. That's its price. That's its, you know. Value is mostly determined by supply and demand in a normal world, but especially the way the auction house works now, to where there's less of an incentive for people to undercut, you tend to find that things maintain their price quite high. What were we looking at a minute ago with Shadowgast ingots? There was like 80,000 Shadowgast ingots all at one price point, all at one exact price point here. Simply because nobody has really that much of an incentive to post under this because of whatever the crafting cost may be. So everybody gets to just throw them all in at this point. Now, you don't really know just how many or how quickly these are selling. I mean, you can refresh the thing a few times and the value doesn't really change, you know, indicating that there's actually not huge amounts of traffic for these even now, right? So value is a bit of an oddball number. But Reckles, want to buy gold, did some maths. He got his spreadsheets out like us goblins do love to do. 12 hours after the auction house commodities merger, prices have dropped 67% from their average yesterday and 57% from their median. So you can what he was tracking here was on an well, not necessarily hour by hour basis, but in certain intervals throughout the day, just doing a quick price sweep of some relatively popular farmable materials and just what was happening with them. Now, what I would say is that the numbers are a bit skewed, because if you look at every single item on this list, all bar a few, sure, we got Desolate Leather, sure, we've got Elysium, we've got, what have we got on here? We got Sinvir, we've got some of the new ore, but this list is primarily just old shit, right? This is just past expansion stuff, which I've always had the belief was artificially high in value to begin with. Simply because it was farmers had a vested interest in keeping the price of this up, because there was still some trickle demand for it. There was still some demand for it. Some is better than none, and this is why people farm these very specific items, because some demand is better than none. There is lots of commodity items, lots of materials from past expansions where the demand for it is quite literally zero. Zippo. Nobody is buying it. Nobody cares about it. So people don't farm it. But these are items. Jara's Veil, Cinder Bloom. These go into Vial of the Sands recipes. Ghost Iron and Ghost Iron bars are in demand pretty aggressively from people making things like Sky Golems. Prospecting it for Panther mounts. Primal Fire goes into a whole bunch of old school transmoggy sort of stuff. There's lots of reasons for people to still be farming this. Hang on, please hold. So yeah, some of these materials have a very small trickle of demand, but the only reason that these were able to be maintained at a higher value, I tend to feel, was because there was some element of controlling of the price, right? Anytime they dipped below a certain price point, they were bought up to try and relist them at a higher price. And on smaller servers, that could be facilitated. But you put them all into one big pot for the entire region to hoover up. And the problem is it then becomes not really all that worthwhile to hoover up those cheap ones to try and relist them, because the supply of them all of a sudden is significantly more than what any single person or the demand of itself can actually handle. So like most of these materials, at least short term, will without question take a massive nosedive in price, because the current supply and the current stockpiles that people have, there are people out there who've farmed these materials for years, and they'll have guild banks full of the stuff. There will be so much of this stuff available, not just what you see on the auction house, but whatever you see on the auction house, there's probably 10 times that amount in somebody's bags or in somebody's farming toon or in a guild bank somewhere. These materials have been farmed for years at this point, and the demand for them is only a trickle demand, so they're absolutely definitely going to go down in price. Shadowland stuff is similar but different. Shadowlands materials, if it wasn't the very last patch of the expansion, would have probably held out better than they did. But it's the end of the expansion. We're now in a scenario where if you take a look at the auction house and you look at the materials list of mostly current content stuff, you have to start asking yourself the question, well, which of these materials is going to be valuable to me in Dragonflight? And the answer is, for most of them, no. There's very few materials from Shadowlands that are actually going to hold their value when we go forward. Most of the materials go into, in large quantities, go into things like legendaries. All of the herbs, potions and flasks, nobody gives a damn about potions and flasks from any expansion other than the current one, outside of very rare situations like Mage Tower potions. But for the most part, herbs or all dyes of death only do they hold their value if it's something that is going to be valuable long term. If it goes into making a mount, then the materials that go into making mounts sort of hold their value quite well, because those mounts will still be valuable in the future. But just looking at this list, Lightless Silk, unlikely to hold any value whatsoever outside of Shadowlands. Same for Shrouded Cloth. We're going to get new bags. We've already seen throughout Shadowlands that even deep sea even bags from BFA are technically more valuable than the current content ones because of the outrageous vendor price making bags. So Lightless Silk, Shrouded Cloth is really not going to hold much value. The leather is dead as a dodo. All versions of the leather, there's no real use for any of the leathers once we go into Dragonflight. The ore, you can argue that there's really not going to be much call for prospecting, because right now the only call for prospecting is to get the essences to make legendaries. Legendaries are dead. Base legendary items will die a death. They'll have no value to you going forward into Dragonflight. You're not even going to craft them for the purpose of transmog. So most of the materials, albeit nearly all of the materials, I'm actually struggling to even think of one that you might want to keep around. Most Shadowlands materials are in the bin. Straight up in the bin. You are not going to want to carry many of them forward to Dragonflight. And even the ones, even if you do carry some of them forward, they're not going to be super valuable to you. Yeah, there's very, very little that's going to transfer from from Shadowlands into Dragonflight. So even Shadowlands materials are going to nosedive in value as everybody tries to clean out their stocks of them before we move on to something new. I think there's no profession crafted mounts from Shadowlands. If I don't know if I'm wrong, but nothing comes to mind. Yeah, there's really nothing that I feel that is currently crafted to which people are going to care about in Dragonflight. Almost nothing. The easy way to look at it is go back one expansion, go back 2 expansions. What do we care about from Battle for Azeroth right now? What do we care about from Legion? Some of the only things that people care about are mounts, right? Because everybody always collects mounts. Crafted pets, but crafted pets never have much value attached to them anyway. If you go back to BFA, you've got the mounts from BFA, the engineering mounts from BFA. That has kept the value of monolite ore pretty well throughout the entire expansion. You go back the expansion before that into Legion, and you've got the blacksmithing crafted mount, which has kept some value in some of those components. Much outside that, very little. So I would not be surprised to see every single Shadowlands material in the not too distant future just tank in price, as everybody tries to get as much gold for it as they can as quickly as they can before everything ends up at 1 silver. Does the Zereth Mortis stuff count as crafted? There are a few bits and pieces from Zereth Mortis. I'm strictly focusing on, crafted stuff here. Although, actually, when you look at it, the materials from Zereth Mortis, so your first flower's already dead. First flower, progenium ore, protogenic pelt, silken protofiber. These are absolutely in the bin. There's no need for these at all, because if you actually look at the list of items that is crafted with these things, it's crafter's marks. That's the only thing that most of this stuff uses. Progenium ore obviously can be prospected at a similar... it has its own prospecting rates, but there will be nobody prospecting Shadowlands ore in Dragonflight. All of the Zereth Mortis materials, dead. Absolutely categorically dead, because there isn't going to be anybody making crafter's marks, that's for sure. I was thinking more like lattices and goops and stuff. Yeah, I mean, but they're not crafted things. I'm talking specifically about materials for crafting. That obviously, yes, there are things that will carry over, but not regular materials, not crafted items or materials that go in for most part. So yes, any commodity item of this nature is almost guaranteed to just nosedive in price. And now that we've had we've had all of the fated raids, expect the decline to be fast and rapid over the next couple of weeks. Which is why I've used this week, even though the auction house is busted, I've used this week in most cases to try and sell out as much stuff as I can, to liquidate as much of my materials, as much of my crafted items, sell them now whilst there's still some hype, cash out, sit on the gold, wait till Dragonflight. That's my advice for people now. Making gold between now and Dragonflight is going to be super difficult. Because there will be nothing on the auction house, and anything that's crafted will end up on the auction house for less than what it costs to make it, almost instantly. Very, very quickly. Zereth Mortis mats have underperformed for months. Well, there was one significant problem with the mats, that they put a bunch of new materials in Zereth Mortis and they don't make anything. There was nothing, they didn't add any new crafted stuff to use them. That all they did was throw in a new crafter's mark, and then you have the choice, right? Because your crafter's mark, you can create it with one profession and use those crafter's marks for your other profession. So you could completely ignore certain Zereth Mortis mats. They might have had more value to them if they actually gave people a reason to use them, but where do we get to? Where's me window gone? Here we go. So yeah, materials wise, everything is crashed in value, but this was kind of predicted. We suspected as much, and well, it happened. So it wasn't really overly surprising, let's put it that way. Why is this a big deal then? Up until now, players have been isolated on their own particular realm or connected realms in terms of the auction house markets. This results in widely different markets depending on the population of the realm. The prices and the sale rates were directly related to the activity on that one realm. Now, with putting all the commodities in one pool, all players in the same region can buy and sell commodities on the same market, drastically affecting how many made gold, and the profit margins in many markets have simply vanished. This has also made the auction house incredibly accessible to all. If you want to sell a commodity and simply put it at the lowest price, it's likely to get snapped up virtually instantly. This immediate feedback loop makes it a much more vibrant economy, and it feels like the game is alive with players, much like the cross-faction dungeons and cross-realm play. Server choice and faction choice has a lesser impact on play, as all players are playing in one big region. This is why I tend to think that overall this is a good move going this way. The only issue I see is that if they're going to go this route of having region-wide commodities, they need to go all of the way. If they're going to have everything, you know, you can't have some items on a region-wide scale and not others. I really feel that they should just, if this is the direction that they want to take, I know they've claimed technical reasons to why they haven't been able to make everything region-wide, but I think they should just hurry up and do it, simply because that does cause some problems when you have some things on a region-wide and some things not. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what those problems are, but there are definitely problems. I think now that they've got commodities, and now that we've got all of the materials and a whole bunch of basic crafted stuff region-wide, they need to push everything region-wide. I've said this for a long time about Blizzard. I really wish they would stop sitting on the fence with things. If they're going to do something, go all in. The alt situation, is the game alt friendly or is it not alt friendly? Just pick a direction and choose. Having catch-up systems for some things but not others just annoys people. Having some things on a region-wide auction house but then not other things will just annoy people. The dynamic of crafting and the dynamic of how non-commodity items is going to be dealt with, it's going to be much different in Dragonflight anyway, so it may smooth itself out a little bit, but I worry that some of the small realm economies could end up being messed up with net inflow and outflow of gold over time. Yeah, that's one of the problems that small realms are going to have. Small realms are going to just get completely sucked dry of any actual gold on those servers. The players on those servers are unlikely to end up with much gold at all over time, causing some really weird things to happen. There are some long-term knock-on effects of having some things region-wide and some things not. Maybe that's a good topic for a video at some point. We'll see. We'll see. Right. Certain professions that mainly use and create commodities are now far more difficult to find and make gold with. These are going to be your alchemy, your cooking, your enchanting, and your inscription. Yeah, alchemy is going to be a tough cookie to crack. I've always steered clear of alchemy because the margins on it are just outrageously skinny, and it's so easy for it to accidentally not play in your favor. The only way to take advantage of alchemy for the longest of time, in my opinion, has been to really aggressively focus on getting your materials as cheap as possible. That is the only advantage you have. Because if you just go to the auction house and buy your herbs and then craft up a bunch of stuff, you'll go to post your potions and flasks on the auction house, and if you make any gold at all, by the time the auction house has had their 5%, you often run the risk of actually not even making a single cent with alchemy. Now it's region-wide, that problem is only exacerbated tenfold. Only harsh reality is it's only going to be people that sit at the auction house baiting 1 silver herbs off others that will make any money with alchemy. There'll be enough people that will sit at the auction house, they'll have flipping, like Widow Bloom open, and they'll sit here just constantly posting 1 Widow Bloom at like 10 gold, sniping any cheap Widow Bloom that comes up, and once they've got enough to make a few potions, they'll craft those potions and sell them. That's the God's honest truth. That's the only way you're going to make reliable. See, like here, there was some 16 gold Widow Bloom for about half a second. You get your Widow Bloom, you get your herbs 4 or 5 gold cheaper than everybody else. That's where your profit is. It only promotes a really gross way of playing the game. Some people, you know, you look at how many people hate cancel scanning. The cancel scanning meta is now kind of flipped on its head. Or, I mean, it should have been this way to begin with, but cancel scanning is going to get flipped on its head in terms of the fact that, you know, now you're not going to be fighting to keep your auctions front of the queue, because if you post your auctions at the front of the queue, they're going to sell, like, instantly anyway. You're actually going to be fighting over getting the cheaper materials. And the difference between making a 2 or 3 gold saving on your materials is where all of your profit's going to come from. So, yeah, expect the lowball baiting on the auction house to only get even worse for any profession that heavily focuses on commodities. So your meats, your fish, the same scenario is going to happen. Your profit is going to come from just laser focusing on getting your materials as cheap as possible. Enchanting was dead on arrival, in my opinion anyway, this expansion. Enchanting's been really, really poor for gold making. The primary use for soul dust ended up being legendaries. The primary reason you would have an enchanter is to make legendary materials. Enchanting has no longer been about actually making enchants, which is a bit sad, because, you know, that should be its bread and butter. Yeah, disenchanting stuff to get dust, to then sell the dust to people making Legos is pretty much the entire reason enchanting still exists. And inscription is just a joke. Inscription's a bit of a joke outside of the first month of Darkmoon cards. The rest of the expansion's been pretty meh. Well, looking forward, Dragonflight, like I said, might flip a lot of this on its head a bit, because the Dragonflight crafting systems are significantly different, let's put it that way. But for now, these professions are just done. GG. I think it'll be better now for people to get gold quickly by using gathering professions, but that's practically it. But this is one thing. I don't know if it goes on to this in too much detail in this article. I'm trying not to deviate too far from this, but yeah, gathering was always the most reliable way of making gold anyway. Yet now you're likely to get less gold for your time spent, but you're nearly guaranteed that gold very quickly. If you need, you know, for example, if you know that you're going raiding in the evening with your guild or your mates, and you know that, I need to buy some potions, I need to get some flasks, I need to get some stuff done, and I've run out of gold, you know that you can spend an hour farming materials, put them on the auction house, and then 64 minutes later, you'll have the gold in your mailbox to buy the commodities you need. The speed is going to be rapid, right? Any effort you put into farming stuff, if you're just willing to get whatever the cheapest price is, you'll sell those and be able to sell them practically instantly. So the time between you physically farming and having gold in your hand is going to be little more than an hour, because of course it takes an hour for you to get the gold from sold items. So it's going to be super, super fast, and that's going to be really attractive to people, even if it's not super profitable, right? 50k an hour farming, yeah, probably not. 30k an hour though, but almost instantly, sure, why not? People will work for that for sure, I can imagine anyway. If everything goes region-wide, won't it kill every profession? Not necessarily, because it requires them to build in expertise to the professions, which is exactly what they're doing in Dragonflight. With today's system, with Shadowland's system, yeah, none of this region-wide stuff really suits the current system very well. The current system is designed to allow for dramatic amount of pre-crafting and pre-listing of auctions, and then whatever demand there is can come in and cherry pick from them. It's the exact opposite when you go into Dragonflight. They're going to change it up a lot. Conspiracy theorist in me is convinced that Blizzard has intentionally killed gathering gold making so that more people are forced to buy tokens to do anything. I've put forward a similar opinion, but there is, there's pros and cons to it. Pros and cons, like I said, you won't make as much gold, but you'll get that gold really quickly. There is nothing more frustrating to people that go out there to farm some materials than them spending time farming materials only to put them on the auction house, to come back 12 hours later and nothing has sold. They have gained absolutely nothing from that adventure. If anything, they've lost however long in terms of time it took them to gather those materials. Now those materials are just sat in the bags. Now the materials are just laying about. People, just don't care. There's nothing more frustrating from that. That's why all of the people that make YouTube videos for farming routes and farming guides, they'll put a gold per hour in the title, which is probably gross and inflated to begin with. Then people will go out and do it, and then they'll go and sell the items, list the items, and then nothing will sell. And then they'll be doubly annoyed. They'll be annoyed that they wouldn't even get the amount of gold that was listed in the video to begin with. And then they're annoyed again because even then nothing sold. So, yeah, what are you going to do? You won't get as much gold, but you won't need as much gold for your expenses, so it all evens out. Unless you need gold for sub, that's another story. Ooh, now you see, that is a common point of view, but I really don't think it's that true. Mainly because there will still be plenty of things for you to spend your gold on. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that there won't, because what most people don't realize yet is that Dragonflight is going to maybe not necessarily sell you one big ticket item. Like a legendaries in Shadowlands has been that one big, expensive, high value, high priced item that most people feel that they need, right? That they got to get that legendary. They got to get that. They if they want to go do Mythic Plus, if they want to go do raiding with their guild, they need that legendary. And it's one big, they got to take a huge amount of gold and buy one thing in one go. Come Dragonflight, there's not that one big ticket thing, but there's going to be far more emphasis on you buying lots of small things. It's the reason microtransactions work, right? It's far easier to extract $100 from somebody by selling them 10 things at $10 a time than it is to get them to spend $100 on one thing. It's physically the same money. The easiest way to see this in real life and how it works is look at something like Netflix. Netflix charges you on a monthly basis. You pay $10 a month to Netflix. If Netflix turned around and asked you for $120, exactly the same amount of money, but they asked it from you in one big chunk, it's far more difficult to convert people onto that. Most people much prefer to pay for lots of small things, even if it amounts to the same amount. It's the psychology behind microtransactions, but that is exactly the direction that Dragonflight is going. You're going to be incentivized quite heavily to repeatedly be buying small little things and interacting with the auction house many times. You're going to buy a piece of gear from a work order, you'll get that piece of gear. Then once you've got that piece of gear and you've gathered up a few more materials, you might want to get that piece of gear recrafted, and then that's another engagement with the auction house and another small amount of gold towards a crafter. And you're going to do that not just for one piece of gear, but potentially 5 different pieces of gear. Plus there's going to be a multitude of new potions and consumables. There's a higher emphasis on gemming your gear. You're going to be spending gold on things a lot more so and more frequently than most people would expect. Today, you buy a couple of potions and you buy a couple of flasks and maybe some food, and you buy that one big ticket item. Instead of buying that one big ticket item, you're just going to be spending gold on lots of little things. So I kind of... This is why Blizzard are very clever about this. Sure, you won't get as much gold, and people are like, oh, well, it doesn't matter if I don't make as much gold because I won't need to buy as much. Just wait, the temptation will still be there. Even before you consider, you know, like paying for the game with gold or any of that sort of shenanigans. It's crazy how many people watch those videos. I remember when DollarGG put out a video on turtle scales. I went and watched the turtle scale farm area, and it was instantly filled with farmers. Price dunked for like a week before they realized it was a slow seller. Yeah, it's why I tend to try and steer clear of those sorts of videos. It's just, it doesn't benefit anybody. I like to make sure that the videos I put out on YouTube are at least of benefit to some people. At least, you know, I've always gone by the theory of I'd rather teach you how to fish than tell you what fish tastes good, you know. Looking at those videos is great. It tells you what not to farm for a couple of weeks. It tells you what to go and look at the auction house and buy. Yeah, that's for sure. You can usually stockpile up. If Student puts out a good farming video that pops off, Student puts out a good farming video, you can guarantee that you'll be able to buy a monstrous amount of that material for the next few days. Although all of that might change, right? All of that might very aggressively change the way that the new auction house works. We'll have to see. So what now then? What's going to be the resulting from all of this? There will always be some ways to make gold in WoW. The market may have changed massively, but I believe overall it is for the better. Wake of Chaos puts it rather eloquently. This is presumably a Reddit thread, I imagine. Like the title said, not all is lost. Regional commodities and people dumping materials has created this combo of uber low and unprofitable professions / margins. Part of this is the merge, part of it is that Shadowlands is ending and most of these materials will no longer be valuable. So dump your mats if you want, or keep them and see if it stabilizes for a few months once the people who want to get out are out. Prices are low, but I expect them to rise a bit for a bit. All in all, remember that it's a video game and many of us have the luxury of supporting our gaming habit through the things we provide to our servers and their auction houses. Gone are the days of controlling individual server commodity markets, but now there are days where we get the luxury of high population volumes. Shadowlands will likely have little benefit from this because where we are in the expansion, but I predict that Dragonflight will be wildly profitable for many of us. The supply is high and the demand is low. Dragonflight will have the reverse, and all of us will have access to high population volumes. Ooh, that's a big assumption. It's a big assumption I do not agree with. That worries me. There is no way I feel that the supply and demand curve is going to flip like people suspect it will. But anyway, try not to get too discouraged. Again, it is a game and things won't always be this way. Heck, there's still some profit out there, but not nearly as much as there was. I'm probably personally going to just play the game, do the rare auction house thing here or there, then gear up for Dragonflight once it comes around. So yeah, fundamentally, just, you know, backing up the theory of that, you know, don't worry about it too much because this is kind of expected at this point in an expansion anyway. Luckily, Dragonflight's only a month or two, you know, round the corner, so it's not too much of an issue. We will probably have a completely different landscape to play with once Dragonflight turns up anyway. Serious question, who bought all the Tidespay linen for only 1 silver? Has Tidespay linen disappeared now? There we go, all the 1 silver listings have gone. Maybe Tidespay linen's been fixed. Or all of those auctions that weren't really there just got, you know, reset in the first place. Penguins put together a little video showcasing some examples of how niches can come and go and how rapidly there are methods of still making gold in the market. Penguins been putting out some good videos recently. I've not watched this one personally myself, but it's definitely worthwhile checking out. Some good content for sure. On one hand, I'm slightly horrified that my margins are completely gone for my markets. Primarily flasks, feasts, missives, and other expansion-specific fairs. Thing is, what I do put up goes much faster than I've ever seen. I remind myself on the long term, I'm still very much in the black, and cash flow is ridiculously high right now. I envision I'll be able to afford and offload my remaining materials super fast, not at a profit, strictly speaking, but it's all still gold. I think I'll clear another million in the next week alone, where a month ago I'd get maybe a quarter of that in a week. Bear in mind right now that it's very passive. I check in once a day or so, craft and repost as necessary. Speaking of, everything is getting posted at 48 hours. Stuff is going fast, so you don't need to repost for more than 12. This is a good point, actually. Throwing materials on the auction house for 48 hours is a madness right now. You're just basically... Either you're putting them at 48 hours, and if they expire, you just did it wrong in the first place. You're asking way too much. Yeah, 12-hour listings. Definitely go with 12-hour listings. I feel like the new auction house changes, a lot of players will have to adjust to what they consider to be good use of time. Farming things for 30 to 50k gold per hour may not be realistic with this new market. This is very true. This is very true. This will showcase itself a lot more in Dragonflight. I tend to feel that Dragonflight is going to dramatically change the way that people consider, you know, goal making, I think. The problem for most people will be is that they won't see it coming. As most people don't, right? They will expect the same. They'll expect what happened in Shadowlands to repeat itself in Dragonflight. But they're making significant enough changes that I don't think that will quite be the case. With the infrastructure that hopefully by the time Dragonflight launches being a lot more solid, the added on to the fact that there is always going to be a glut of materials in Dragonflight. I really do not think that materials are going to be any problem for anybody ever. For one very simple reason, that crafters are not going to be that incentivized to buy huge quantities of materials. You will do on some things occasionally, but you're not... Today, for example, in Shadowlands, legendary crafters are buying god-awful, disgusting quantities of materials ahead of time, right? It's all preparation. They're buying materials in huge quantities, maybe to then prospect, maybe then to turn into enchanted heavy callous hide or enchanted lightless silk or whatever the case may be. They're buying huge amounts of progenitor essentia ahead of time. The emphasis is very much on buy ahead of time, craft stuff, and then sell things. That's not how Dragonflight works. That's not how Dragonflight works at all, at least the way that it's looking so far. Crafters are not going to need to hold massive stocks of materials. One, because it's going to be super risky to do because of the way the auction house works. Two, you're just straight up and not going to need huge amounts of materials. The rarer, more valuable materials are likely to be supplied by the person that wants the work order in the first place. mostly because they're going to be soulbound materials, and that's just the way the system's going to work. Your cloth, your leather, your herbs, your ore, there's going to be huge quantities of it available very, very quickly without there being massive, monstrous demand. You won't see people swooping in and buying 10,000 of an ore in one go, because there's unlikely to be much to do with that ore once you've bought it, unless there's work orders. This is the problem. This is why I've been trying to showcase that having everything be bind on pickup in Dragonflight is not good. Is not good. There's some serious drawbacks to this. I don't think the farming meta is going to be quite as aggressive in Dragonflight as it has been. How much gold would you say is ideal to go into Dragonflight? No idea. I honestly could not even tell you. It could be 100 gold, it could be 10 million gold. I don't think there is an ideal. I think it's mainly because we have no idea what half of the materials even are, never mind their rarity or their demand. More is better than less. That's a really dumb answer, but it's about as accurate as I can really be. I would definitely say it's going to be better to go into Dragonflight with gold, though, than it is to have a bunch of inventory. Because most of it would be worthless by that point anyway. So, yeah. As much gold as you can get your hands on, really. The more the better. Personally, I am, and by personally, this is, you know, from the voice of Samadan. I emptied 5 guild banks of hoarded materials I was never going to use, and the clearance was extremely cathartic. I look forward to the new era of gold making. It looks like, it looks like Samadan he's got this little mini project on the go where he's tracking how much gold he has. And his goal is to be able to make enough gold to practically pay for Dragonflight, right? And you can see this big spike here was when he purged a bunch of materials, which can be done now for sure. Penumbra thread price increase then. I want to talk about this for a few minutes, simply because it's affected a lot more people, a lot of people, in fact. Shuffling cloth into items to then, in many cases, just straight up vendor, has for quite a while been relatively lucrative for people. It's practically, like the vendor shuffles are practically AFKable. You set it going and then you come back 20 minutes later and you just restock up on mats and sell a few bits and pieces and then press go again. Which meant that, say for example, people that work from home have had great success with vendor shuffles. Penumbra thread though got a bit of a cheeky little price increase with 9.2.7 as well. Penumbra thread now, even if you are exalted, is 8 gold 80 per instead of 7 gold 20, which it previously was. Now that 1 gold, what was that? 1 gold 60 increase in price per thread is practically what people's profit was by vendor shuffling. Now, early in the week, a lot of people got caught by this because they were like seeing all of the cheap shrouded cloth and they're like, oh, great, I'll buy all this like 1 gold shrouded cloth. Not realizing that when they next go to a vendor, their vendor materials are now significantly more expensive than they were the day before. And the big rule for me with this is if you do the vendor shuffles, be careful just how many materials you're sat on. Twice this expansion, at least twice. In fact, maybe 3 times because they changed the value of a robe at some point. 2 or 3 times this expansion, they've changed the vendor price of materials and it's screwed people over. Well, it's not screwed people over. People have got caught out by it. They've been caught out by it because they had just huge stockpiles of materials that they bought with the intention of shuffling, but they just hadn't got round to it yet. The lesson here is never hold on to too much stock. If you're doing vendor shuffles, you want to shuffle it quickly, because the longer you sit on it, the more of a risk there is that something will change to make it not profitable for you anymore. So this was the actual the blue post for it. The interesting thing for me was the developer note. But so they increased the vendor cost of per number thread to 11 gold. It was 9. This is the default cost. Obviously, if you buy it at Exalted, you get it at the cheaper prices. The developer note was what made me giggle. The price changes to balance the decreased cost of reagents with the change to the regional commodity auction house. This is just complete fluff, because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But it also goes to showcase that they absolutely knew that all of the materials, all the Shadowlands materials, as soon as they pushed them region-wide, was going to tank. Straight from the horse's mouth, they've basically said that yes, with it going region-wide, the materials are going to tank. They knew that ahead of time. We speculated it was going to happen ahead of time. They very clearly knew it was going to happen. And what they wanted to do was to make sure that when all of your shrouded cloth goes super, super cheap, which it inevitably did, that there wasn't too much gold to be made by shuffling. I love how they're so hot on keeping the vendor shuffles in check. But we've had bugs in the auction house for an entire week that have been causing absolute havoc. But hey, what are you going to do? I did put out a little video. Thank you to Samadan for highlighting my little video. I put out a video a few days ago focusing on this, but I think by this point most people are aware of it anyway. So if you've watched it, thanks for the view. If you haven't, don't worry about it. So yeah, there we go. That was this week's little Wowhead report. Thank you once again to Samadan. If you want to do some further reading, there are some resources that are suggested checking out. There's the WoW Economy subreddit. And their accompanying Discord server. You could also come and say hi over on the Mantheus Coffee Club Discord server, where there's lots of goal-making activity and chat going on there as well. And of course, make sure you go check out Samadan. Go say hi to him on Twitter. He's got YouTube videos coming out periodically, so make sure you're subscribed over there as well. But there we go. That was this week's little report. Let's catch up on the chat for a few minutes. I read the patch notes and flipped 200,000 shrouded cloth to those thinking that thread was still 7 gold 20. Good day. See, the early bird catches the worm, right? If you can if you can keep your eye on this sort of stuff and spot the changes ahead of time, you can still, make out like a bandit. That's for sure. Leather is the same price, and instead of bows, people are now crafting arm guards. There is, my Shadowlands cheat sheet, for example, does go through all of the vendor shuffles, and if you put in the prices, you'll see what's worth and what's not. You can quite quickly, using this, see what's good and what's not. Arm guards, 6 pieces of leather, 1 thread. Yeah. Just using something that uses as little thread as possible. Get your desolate leather. So I presume then anything under 2.7 gold for your desolate leather, you can still shuffle a profit out of that somewhere. Vendors for 25, gonna cost you. Yeah, you can still turn a slight profit if you can get your desolate leather cheap enough. What are people doing with pallid bones now then? What's the pallid bone alternative? I guess there probably isn't one, right? The pallid bones just GG. Because before it was composite bows, right? Get your desolate leather, get your pallid bones. But the fact that it used 8 thread. 8.8 times 8. You're looking at 70 gold of crafting materials. 70 gold of just vendor stuff. And it vendors for 89.54. So there's only 90. You've got to get 6 pallid bones and 5 desolate leather for 19 gold apiece. So 11. Yeah, you've then got to get your pallid bones and your desolate leather for cheaper. For less than 1.7 gold as an average. Yeah. This will probably mean that there's a... Pallid bones will float to around 1 gold. When they go around 1 gold, then people might pick them up. Because if you've got 2.5 gold for your leather, times that by 5, plus 6 is 18, yeah. Bones at less than a gold is probably a win. Bones at less than a gold, desolate leather less than 2.5. There's options then. There's options. Not many, mind, but there's options. Is there anything? You're going to have to get your Leystrite significantly cheaper than this even. Leystrite's about 3.5, right? Is that where we think Leystrite is for blacksmiths? Where's Leystrite on here? 3.5 gold. Oh, are these not smart ones? Oh, these are smart ones. There we go. Yeah, 3.5 gold is your Leystrite rapiers. Small little bit of profit on those. But I mean, it's like, it's a bit gross all the same. You'd probably be better off actually prospecting it. I don't know. Yeah, vendor shuffles got slammed pretty hard by... that penumbra thread change. Oh yeah, for reference, anybody that wants to use the cheat sheet, it's just linked in the Discord. Make sure you go file, save a copy though. File, make a copy. Otherwise, you won't be able to change things. Change your prices in the global material list, and then anytime that material is used some other place in the sheet, it'll update automatically. Yeah, there's not many options now. Not many options, unfortunately. I would suspect as well, it would not surprise me if they do the same for Luminous Flux. I would not be surprised if they put the price up of Luminous Flux as well. Which actually, if they put the price up of Luminous Flux, that has other knock-on effects, like Shadowgast ingots will all of a sudden go up in value. So maybe my little investment might not be too bad if they put Flux up, who knows. Interesting times. Interesting times, that is for sure. This is a good change, screw the vendor shuffles. I must admit, I do kind of agree with that statement. Vendor shuffles have this inherent problem of that they just create straight up raw gold. It's not doing anything for the economy other than tanking it, is the honest answer. You get a little bit of gold out of it, and this is why they're always super proactive on squishing vendor shuffles before they get too powerful. Those of you that remember the early days of Shadowlands will have remembered that there was a point in time where every single piece of shrouded cloth was actually worth about 8 gold to you, because you could vendor shuffle it into the same process, right? But penumbra thread was like free back then. So it worked out that every single piece of shrouded cloth that was generated was adding 8 gold to the economy, because you could shuffle it and then vendor the items. That's the reason the penumbra thread went up in value to begin with, because they needed to squish that. They could not have the floor price on a material that was super farmable in mass quantities. They could not have the floor value of that to be 8 gold, because over the expansion it would have just printed bajillions of new gold into the economy, which would have tanked the value of gold for everybody involved, which would have been bad. Bit like fish oil back in BFA. Or the fish oil one was just silly. That was an entirely unintended thing that they hotfixed that pretty quickly, if I remember. But yeah, that was quite funny. Right then, I think I'm about done with retail. I don't think there's much more to talk about with retail today. I'm quite keen to get over to the alpha and have a little bit of a play about on the alpha. Before we do that though, before we do that, I'm going to take a quick break for 2 minutes. Now we've done the report, and we'll jump over to the alpha and continue our leveling over on the alpha. I didn't do much more leveling than we did on stream the other day, so we'll continue playing that, and I can obviously continue to answer questions and whatever. So I'll take a quick break for 2 minutes, boys and girls. Occupy yourselves for a couple of minutes. There's the likelihood that an ad or two will pop up. I will be back with you in 2 minutes. Alrighty, let's get rocking and rolling. Ooh, what's this? What do I think about the current expansion items that are worth less than 10 silver on the auction house? Should they be in the game at all? Sure. They're useful to somebody for some reason. there's just more of them than people need, so their value goes down. Value, you know, value is a... I mean, yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't. Just because there's too many of them, I tend not to believe is reason for them to not be there. Pretty broad brush to paint with. You need to look at why they're under 10 silver. Is it that they have no uses? Is it that there's a ridiculous oversupply? Are they used for other items? For example, some lattices from the Zereth Mortis pets and mounts are under 10 silver. Does that mean we should get rid of them? Yeah, it's just, you know, it's the nature of supply and demand. When something is farmed for or acquired considerably more than what people actually need it, its value goes down. I love spamming Card of Omens on several characters just to inject more gold into the game. But yeah, this is why Cards of Omens are worth like 3 gold a piece, right? You can rarely get more than 3 gold a piece from a Card of Omens. It's of no coincidence that the amount of gold you can make by turning Cards of Omens into gold is, on average, about the same as what you get from vendor shuffling. It's all very cleverly controlled, deliberately so. Deliberately designed so that no single person can inject too much gold into the economy over and above what's already there. Right, where did we get to leveling wise though? We level 72. We're still playing through is it Waking Shores? Jesus, I really can't remember the names of these zones. Waking Shores. We are still working through here. We are level 62. We're going to have a little bit of rested experience about us now. Who turned on the rain? Oh, phooey. Alright. Where's our next... let's go do this one then. Hurdles at the Hollow. I'm on a bit of a mission to try and do all of the quests in the zones, just to see just how that plays out. We'll do... I've tried to work on a playthrough where I just do everything, and then I'll probably see what's the viability of doing nothing but campaign. Does nothing but campaign still give you enough experience to ding 70? We'll have to see. Ooh, more side quests. It's still 2 AM in the morning though, so you're gonna have to live with the fact that it's a bit dark, unfortunately, on the alpha for me. Not too much I can do about that, unfortunately. Pacified frogs collected. How do we pacify the frogs? Oh, these little things. Whoa, 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 whoa. Why am I using steady shot? Where's all my abilities gone? Whoa, back it up. Back it up, son. Where'd all my abilities go? My talent's been reset again. Ah, Jesus. My talents have been reset. My keybinds have been reset. I wish I'd have noticed that before I engaged in combat. Okay. Jesus. Alright, sure. One of you, some of you, some of you, some of you, some of you, one of you. Bit of that, bit of this, bit of this. One more of those. I guess we have to take trank shot if we want to go down that direction, right? Yeah, we do. One of those, some of this. Can we click any more buttons up here? Let's go concussive shot just because. Need to spend 2 more points. I don't want any of this shenanigans. That one will do. Some of this, some of this. Yep, bit of crit. There's all of those points gone. One of those, 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 one of those. Let's go Animal Companion because that's fun. Thrill of the Hunt, bit of Bestial Wrath. Stomp is always fun. We need to spend some more pet focus. Yeah, we'll go a bit of beast cleave. One more beast cleave. Kill command also strikes. That's kill cleave is quite good. We'll go that direction. Let's get. I want to go. Well, I want to go piercing fangs. Bestial wrath buff. Blood frenzy. I can nearly do this in my sleep now. It's still not a totally optimized one, but how many points have I got left? 1. Kill command, consume no focus. Go on then. Right, yoink. Okay. I would really like to not have to do this every time I log into the alpha though, mind. Blizzard, just as a heads up. Let's put that over there. That goes there. That goes there. That goes there. That goes... Where does that go? There. Mouse wheel up. Shift mouse wheel up. Mouse wheel down. Intimidation is shift 2. Camo is F2. Oh lord, I'm missing buttons again. Why am I missing more buttons again? What are we missing? Do I not have crows? Do I not? Oh, okay. They've moved things. Going this route, I don't get... Oh, I suppose it's because I'm only 72. It means I don't have access to Stampede yet. I don't have access to Explosive Shot yet because I went this way. Okay, that's actually just my bad. Fine. Okay, now we should be able to do stuff. Now we should be fine. How did we pacify these frogs? Throw a trap on them. There we go. Right, give me some more froggy frogs. I'm hoping that by actually playing through the alpha zones, like, properly, that by the time we get to higher level, the game will make a bit more sense. One of my criticisms this week, for reference on the alpha this week, they've opened up all of the zones. You can play through all of the zones. Previously, you've only ever had one zone that you can play in. This week, they've given you the ability to make level 70 characters as like template characters. They've also opened up all of the zones. So, we made a level 70 character. We went out into the outer world, and it felt really empty. Like, really empty. There was a few world quests dotted about, but it felt really empty, and it felt odd that they were trying to get us to test endgame content when there didn't really seem to be any. So I've decided that maybe if we level up a character in a natural fashion, that through doing the campaign, through introducing ourselves to some of the factions, that might open up more stuff and make the endgame actually more representative of what it might be. That's my hope, but we will see. Because if it is just world quests, yeah, it's not going to be fun for anybody. Alive, how we doing? Welcome in. Hope you're well. There were some items that seldom used. I would suggest that Blizzard lower the drop rate or make them needed in recipes to be bigger. I usually vendor items that's only worth a few silvers. However, it is good for crafters that there are cheap items on the auction house. So I'm split on what's good for the game. I still don't totally understand why you feel that having items that are cheap is bad for the game. We have Lamborghinis and we have loaves of bread. You know, not everything needs to be super valuable. I still don't think I follow where your logic is that in that cheap items is bad. Because I don't think cheap items are bad. they have their place just like expensive items do. Not everything needs to be expensive / profitable / yeah. I'm not sure I follow. Eight of 8, there we go. We got all our froggy frogs. Takes up a lot of bag space and it's not grey items. We'll just sell them then. We'll put them in the bank. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm still not entirely sure I follow. I mean, they have use to some people, and that's why they exist. I tend not to think that there's much of a... Yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't make sense. They're not grey because they're crafting materials. Their purpose is for crafting. Doesn't necessarily mean because they're cheap that they should be removed. What's a Pandarian doing in a mine? Pandas don't do mining. Pandas do cooking. This was one of the zones where there was a world quest that just kind of felt out of place before. I wonder if it will start to make more sense now that we're doing some quests out here as well. Pandas can't cook for shit anymore. That guy deleted all cookie mats from the game. Pandas are the best cooks. A herb that has a blue quality and is worth less than 10 silver I think is bad. White and grey items are common. But why is it bad? This is my point. I can't fathom a reason to why you think that it being priced less than something else is actually bad. Since you know, heavy callous hide is a rarer material. But it nowadays, because the economy and stuff has adjusted and changed, it is no longer anywhere near as valuable to others. And so there's more of it, because less of it is being consumed. And yet there's now more of it. There's a greater consumption on a lower quality material. I guess it just looks odd, but I still don't categorically consider it bad. Sure, it doesn't make it doesn't look right. But if you go out and you farm materials, you get significantly more desolate leather than you get heavy callous hide. So heavy callous hide is still correct to be labelled as a rare material. It's just piled up as less people actually use it right now. The inherent problem with that is that you're actually kind of the system is actually skewed by the fact that there's a significantly greater demand for desolate leather holding up the price. And so the rare material is actually just a byproduct of farming for the common material. That is a bit odd. But it's still... I still wouldn't quote it as being bad. It's just odd. I think they were super lazy with professions in Shadowlands. First flower being rare quality and only has one crafting use kind of sucks. It goes into making a health potion of all things as well. Yeah. Well, I will give you the benefit of the doubt. that yes, the Zereth Mortis materials are a bit of a joke. Because they're not really all of that rare. B, they injected a whole new, you know, a new ore, a new herb, a whole round of new materials, and then seemed to just forget to make anything use them. It's like, what was the point in adding these new Zereth Mortis materials? There was practically none. You could have just continued to have the exact same materials we already had, and it would have made just as much thematic sense, and it would have actually been more convenient for people. Because now it's just extra materials for the sake of having extra materials. Is this an upgrade? 222. Oh, massive upgrade. Big win. Oh. I think my profession... Oh no, 3 in skinning. I don't know, maybe I just haven't done much skinning yet. I've not killed many things that are skin worthy. I'm trying to rescue explorers and I can't find any explorers to rescue. Here's one. Here's one. Rescue you. So the one in this... Oh, there's one over here. I liked the new feast they made where people could contribute their Zereth Mortis feast, but that was about it. That was kind of interesting. This is actually something that I've not physically seen firsthand. When people use feasts in Mythic Plus and in raids, which feasts are they choosing to use? Are they actually using the new Zereth Mortis cooking pot thing? Or are people still using the old school feasts? Because... my thought on that initially was that people are not going to bother using the Zereth Mortis ones because it's a faff. Because it's just, you know, it's just more complicated. Getting a food buff shouldn't be a timely, complicated process, I feel, but... mostly we just use the new kettle. Zereth Mortis one in raids from what I've seen. I've seen both. The other one's more... okay. So, a very small swipe of people have said 2 exact opposite things. Lasts longer than just a single wipe. Oh, I guess that... yeah. I guess that helps, I suppose. Did I pull aggro on this fella? It was not intended. Just keep 20k proto meat in the bank. Well, that's true. That stuff's basically free on the auction house, so it's not... I can't imagine that's too much of a concern for guilds, really. Cooking is still a profession I need to do a video on for the alpha, actually. I took a little look at cooking. I don't think I even properly leveled up cooking, to be honest, on the alpha. Since, well, it's just cooking, isn't it? But... is this a cave? Hey, this is a cave. I'm actually wondering what they're going to do with the alpha, considering this week, potentially, they might, I really hope they don't do this, but they might actually take the alpha down this week. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, especially considering there's some aspects of the game, hence mining, that have not even been implemented on the alpha yet. There's how many professions? What are we missing profession-wise? Herbalism, mining, Engineer, no, enchanting, we've not seen. So primary profession even. Not just a Mickey Mouse secondary profession, but an actual primary profession we still haven't seen on the alpha. Not to mention, I really don't feel like we've seen anything even remotely endgame. Which worries me, because it also makes me feel that there might really not be that much. We could be heading into a Warlords of Draenor situation, where the early days leveling process was great, but once you get to max level, you run out of stuff real fast. Every time I tune into an alpha stream, it's either somebody doing professions or dragon riding. It's literally nothing else. It's yeah, I mean, for people who are old school enough to remember Warlords of Draenor clearly, one of the biggest downfalls of Warlords of Draenor was that actually the leveling was really fun. Leveling through the zone, the fact it was the first time I think why did I just get dismounted then? Warlords of Draenor was one of the first times, if I remember it right, where they did like this dynamic leveling for the zones, which means you could just progress through the expansion at your own pace. If you did some dungeons, whatever, you could come back after completing the dungeon and the zone would have leveled up around you. So that it always felt that whatever zone you were in was kind of worth doing. The leveling in Warlords of Draenor was really quite good. And a lot of emphasis was put in it. Obviously, garrisons were a fucking shit show for a while, but they fixed it eventually. But the problem then was that once you hit max level, it was kind of like, well, what do I do now? And that was a big problem for Warlords of Draenor. And hopefully, I'm hoping it's just the fact that I haven't seen it yet. I would also state that due to the fact that I have alpha access has actually meant that I've paid a lot less attention to other content creators' alpha content. I know that sounds weird considering it's, you know, it's technically my job, but like I don't actually pay that much attention to what other content creators are doing. So there may be, I mean, feel free to tell me if there's other stuff that I am missing that I haven't seen, but it doesn't feel like there's actually, there's 4 new renown systems, which are practically just rep grinds in disguise, right? They're just more broken down. They're just rep grinds sold to you using the microtransaction philosophy of just give you something really small really frequently. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to do those, but how much reputation do you need with a faction to get Exalted? It's like just under 50k, isn't it? Like 48,000 or something. If you take a reputation from 0 all the way up to Exalted, you have 0 to 6,000 being friendly. Then you go from friendly to honoured, which is it 9,000? Ah, Jesus, I can never remember these numbers. But I tend to feel that the renown system is likely to be practically the same. Just, you know, the actual reputation you acquire behind the scenes is likely to be the same. Friendly to honoured is 6k, honoured to revered is 12k, and then 21k from revered to exalted. So 3 plus 6 plus 12 plus 21. 9, 21 plus 20, 42,000. 42,000 is what's needed. Now, if the renown levels are 1,000 apiece, and there's currently 30 of them, that means there's a minimum, because there is the chance that you need more renown, more reputation to increase your renown once you get further down the lines, but there's a minimum of 30k rep that's needed. Maximum of currently undetermined. Maximum of we don't know. I wonder if that's the kind of thing that's been data mined, though. Kind of annoys me that data mining exists. I'm not gonna lie. It plays to my advantage occasionally, but I do tend to feel that data mining is a bit of a plague on the game nowadays. Am I right in assuming that, because I've seen this with Final Fantasy, right? Those guys frown upon data mining, like, aggressively, right? Or was it Square Enix? I wonder how they actually go about enforcing and policing that, or whether it's just you know, if you're a, I don't know, maybe if you're a content creator that data mines Final Fantasy, you just get outlawed. I don't know. How do they go about policing it? I'm not sure. Imagine how much different you'd feel about a new expansion if you didn't have a PTR showing you practically everything about the new systems and raids. Like the new expansion would just be new for everybody. See, I kind of half feel that WoW's become so competitive, though. WoW has over the years become more and more competitive. I don't know whether it was any... I suppose we've had systems like Mythic Plus introduced. The Race to World First has made raiding relatively competitive. People's desire for gear has always been there. But... oh, God. And, you know, part of being competitive is finding a competitive advantage. Whoa, that's what's... oh, that sent me right back to the beginning. Stupid flipping... stupid. My pet getting flung about is not helpful either. Follow this one. And then not get hit by this somehow. There we go. Genius me. Looks like mostly 75 rep per daily. Yeah, see, I've seen this as well. I've done a few of the dailies at level 70, max level. And I've also noticed that 75 rep for a world quest. And you, at that rate, you're going to have to do 12 to 15 world quests to get a single renown for a faction. I don't know. I really hope they don't just make it a constant world quest grind. Because, well, for two reasons, right? Because the game is competitive. If they make world quests the main source of reputation for endgame content, I can shit you not, people will feel the necessity to do every single world quest every single day. And that has never gone down well. That has never, ever gone down well. It's tough, and I get it's tough for Blizzard, because you want to make endgame content endgame content and world zone content. You want to make it worthwhile doing, but there's a really fine line between making it worthwhile doing and people feeling as if it becomes mandatory. And if they start, and this probably depends with what they're gonna distribute in these renown trees. I mean, we can see they've locked 2 of the factions. Oh, when did that happen? Okay, you can kind of see the rewards on these are, for the most part, at least what we see so far, they're not like super duper mega important things, but simply the fact that they just unlock content and they unlock new things is going to mean that people are going to want to progress through it as much as possible. But the annoyance for me is that when a game, you know, holds that carrot on a stick, right? They hold, okay, you want to do this thing, well, this thing is locked until you've done these 20 things you don't actually want to do. That, I tend to feel, is terribly bad game design. Like, if you want to unlock this thing, you have to do 20 things that you really don't want to do first. It's like, is there not better ways of doing that? I don't know. And it seems to go against there's something in it just seems to go against the mantra of an MMO, right? The MMO is like, the MMO genre is meant to be a scenario where it's an open world, you have a character, and there's so much you want to do with that character that you have to choose where to spend your time. And that's been a frustration for me for a few years with WoW. Of that, no longer is there. It feels like the whole game is very much on like rails now. You have to do this, and you have to do this X amount of times, and then this becomes available to you, and then you can go do that. And it's all time gating. It's done in a way to make sure that you continuously log in and play the game on a repeated amount of time. I had this same argument with Zereth Mortis. Zereth Mortis felt odd to me, that the one thing that you would have expected people to want to do a lot of when Zereth Mortis first launched was to collect the pets and the mounts. When there's a new zone, people rush to the new zone, to explore the new zone, to kill the rares, to get mounts and pets, especially since the raid wasn't even open for a few weeks. So you had this huge, massive quantity of the player base that wanted to go and play stuff, but Zereth Mortis was fucking empty for the first week. It was bare in the first week because you couldn't do anything in the zone yet. You had to be in the zone, you had to grind out your cipher knowledge tree before you could even unlock the ability to start farming for pets and mounts. And that was time gated. It may have only been like 3 or 4 days, but it was just a really crazy decision to me. You got this entire player base of your game that under normal circumstances would be out raiding and doing Mythic Plus, but you've delayed that content from being available. But then you've also delayed the content that they would probably want to be doing at that time. It was just, it's an MMO. You should level, and then boom, your max level. Here's 20 things you can go and do. There's physically not enough hours in the day to go and do it all. But you should then say, right, well, I want to go and do this. So let people go and do that. Some people want to do this. Some people want to do that. It just feels like they're trying to paint it more like putting all this time gating in place just limits people from actually playing the game in the fashion to which they actually would want to. I think it's just bad design generally. It's designed to exploit and boost monthly active users. It's pretty sad. For example, a mount you could grind over 30 hours is now gated behind a 5-week wait, 2 months of sub instead of 1. Yeah, I've had a bee in my bonnet about the excessive use of time gating for quite a while, and it's been a big frustration for me in Shadowlands, which is why I really, really am not keen to see them do the same thing again in Dragonfly. While I love these renown paths, I'm really hoping that there doesn't end up being anything significantly... There's a problem, right? Because you've got to put some in on these to make them justifiable in the first place. But the fact that there is clearly things on this, right? There's clearly things on these paths that you're going to want to, strive towards. I mean, it worries me that there's even gear on these. Just purely the fact that there's gear on it in the first place is worrying. Yeah, which one's this one? Dragonfly riding. Unlock the ability to find and tame dragonfly mounts. Purchase some dragonfly mounts in the dragon scale base camp from Grandpapa Whiskers. Unlocked behind 25 renown. I hate to consider. I wasn't particularly a fan of renown in Shadowlands though. This is a problem. Why is gear worrying? It's player power. It's literally player power. Here's a piece of gear that's likely to be better than the piece of gear that you're wearing. Locked behind a lengthy... Yeah. There's quest lines, there's... expedition equipment. Purchase a pair of expedition pants that item level 398 in the Dragon Scale base camp. 398 I think is only normal mode raid quality, but I don't know. Ancient waygates, treasure maps. This is my point, right? A lot of this is going to feel like they're staggering the end game content, which means you're not going to be able to pick and choose which end game content you prefer. You're going to only be able to do the end game content that you have unlocked, right? You're only going to be able to have access to the stuff you've unlocked. How do you unlock it? You're going to grind reputation or renown. How are you going to get renown? You're going to have to do a fuckload of world quests. Well, what if the thought of running around doing 500 world quests in a week makes you feel sick? Well, tough shit. If you want to play the rest of the game, that's what you got to do. It's not enjoyable. It's not enjoyable. Time gating needs and now they're doing it in 4 different directions. So there's going to be a major faction feature, a major endgame feature, presumably for each of the factions, and they're going to make you earn all of them. It's not enough to level to 70. It's not enough that you've bought the game. It's not enough that you've paid your subscription. You're going to have to, if you want to play all of the, the fun stuff that you want to play, and access all of the stuff. Some people just want to log in and farm mounts, right? That's what people want to do. If you want to buy the game and you want to pay your subscription and you just want to log in and you just want to farm mounts, then let those people just log in and go farm mounts. They're not hurting anybody. They're not causing anybody any grief. People just want to collect mounts. Let them collect mounts. If you then tell them that the only way that they can start unlocking mounts is they first have to grind out 25 renown with one of the new factions, well, how do they do that? Well, they're presumably going to have to do 500 world quests just to unlock the feature. Well, fuck off. I paid for the game. I'm paying a subscription to this. This is why I hate time gating. I understand it. I understand time gating as a mechanic in video games. But not when you pay a box price for the game and a monthly subscription. Having both of those, I think, is gross to begin with. But I'm not a fan of this. I think if you've leveled to 70, you've played the game, you've got your character. Yeah, I don't know. It just frustrates me. It's an MMO. There's meant to be just, the nature or the core concept of MMOs in the past was always the fact that there was so much for you to do, that there was more for you to do than there was physically hours in the day. And you could decide, right, well, this feature of the game, this part of the game looks really fun and enjoyable to me. I'm going to go and do that first. I'm going to do that straight away, and I'm going to go and do that first. If I finish that thing, or I get bored of doing that thing, there's then 5 other things I could be doing. But this kind of like, you know, you level your character. You level your character. Then what's there to do when you've leveled your character? Probably not a lot. Right, well, what's the next thing I have to do? Right, well, the next thing I have to do is 500 world quests to unlock all of the end game features. If I don't want to do 500 world quests, I can do 100 world quests, cherry picking the faction that I actually care about. Then that unlocks the new thing that you might actually want to do. Then you play that thing for a little bit. Great, excellent, you have fun with that. Then you look at that other thing that you didn't unlock to begin with, and you're like, oh, maybe it'd be cool to go and do that now. No, you have to go back a stage and do another 500 world quests to unlock it. I don't know. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like it. Locking's, you know, features, gameplay elements away behind a renown tree. I don't think I like it. Yeah. Locking features and functionality away is realistically just as bad as locking player power away. Because it still feels that people will feel obligated to do it. Because of the unlocks. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just ranting. But I also don't know if I just don't like it. If the mechanic was only for one character, it'd be fine. It would be terrible if you want alts. What we have seen, there's some initial suspicions that if you're working through these renowns with the different factions, there comes points. I wonder if it's easy to see in game. There was, when it was initially data mined, certain thresholds where if you achieve it on one character, you gain a boost to reputation on alts. So they have kind of started thinking about it, I believe. Purchase the marmoset or black skitterbug pet from the Dragonscale base camp. So, see, this is the thing, right? Gaining the reputation, I don't know. I know it's just rep grinds in disguise. But the way that it's painted is just deceptive. Here's a reward tree. Here's a reward path that wasn't overly fun or interesting in Shadowlands. Now we're going to give you multiple of them. They're going to double down on a system that people didn't really ask for in the first place. People accepted it because it didn't really matter all that much. Renown was just a thing for the most part. You got a couple of pets, you got a couple of mounts along the path, but it was not really all that much. Now, not only do you have to unlock certain stuff, even when you've unlocked it, there's going to be yet more criteria to even go and get the pet or the mount. You bet your ass that you then won't be able to acquire this. Purchase the marmoset or black skitterbug pet from the Dragonscale base camp. Where's the Dragonscale base camp? I want to find this vendor. From Grandpap Whiskers. Where is Grandpap Whiskers? What was it? Grandpap Whiskers, NPC. Where are you? The location of this NPC is unknown. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Definitely not going to be in Deep Home, is it? Dunno. Sounds like it might end up being another expansion where I know part of it until the catch-up mechanics are put in. See, this is also an annoyance, right? You know that catch-up mechanics are a thing, and so just play the last patch again. I'm sure we'll come across him eventually. We'll come across him eventually. I'm trying my best to not be overly pessimistic. I know I am quite pessimistic and cynical at heart, but I'm trying not to be. But it comes from a place to where, you know, I love how Blizzard try and spin things. They're trying to spin it that, oh, you know that renown system that you didn't particularly like in the first place, which is practically a battle pass in disguise. You know that thing that, you know, was not really overly, you know, interesting or fun or engaging in any way, shape or form, that people just waited for the catch-up mechanics and absolutely begged for there to be vendor items so that you can just skip the whole process. You know that one thing? Yeah? How about you have 4 of them? It's like, well, what? And how did they manage to sell that to us in a way that we accept it? It doesn't make any sense. How hard is it, Blizzard, to just make a fun game? Make a fun game, give people shit to do, and let them go and do it. I hate the time gating. I hate it so much. It's literally rep made to look prettier. Oh yeah, I mean it absolutely is. It's a rep grind just made. It's a rep grind with a fancy skin. People were bitching about reputations, now they made it into a noun and people still bitch. Yeah, because it's the same system. It's the same thing. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't get your complaints, honestly. World quests and world events is something that you can continuously do, and with those factions you gain additional rewards and some additional mini-games. Do it at your own speed when you feel like it, and you don't seem to need it for PvP raiding, Mythic Plus or whatever. You want the mount, we'll go grind for it. It's an MMO after all. On your map it seems that there's more rares and events than I could ever do in an evening. I think you've also missed my kind of point with the whole thing of being that you pay a box price for the game, you pay a subscription to play the game, and then even when you log into the game, they're holding back all of the major features of the game until you do arduous tasks repeatedly over a period of days or weeks. Is what I disagree with. I'm not inherently disagreeing with world quests as content, as something for people to do. If the world quests, ultimately, if they make the world quests and the world events a thing that are fun and interesting, people will go and do them regardless. My point, realistically, is the fact that you'll play the game, you'll pay for the game, you'll activate a subscription for the game, and then, unless you do these very specific activities, whether you like them or not, you don't get access to even half the game. Like, this is my point. It's not just time gating. It's not as if it just accidentally unlocks after 3 or 4 days. I don't like time gating to begin with. I'm greatly of the opinion that if you've bought the game and you're paying a subscription to the game, and you've leveled your character and you've hit max level and you're in the new expansion, in the new zone, you should have the content to play. Like, I don't particularly like this time gating in the first place, but this is not only time gating, it's also play gating. You know, they're restricting you being able to have access to just the regular bits and pieces that the expansion's meant to offer, unless you do this, this and this. You have to do you have to do this first, whether you like it or not, to even access the features of the game. The new systems that, you know, that expansion that you bought, that subscription that you played for, you know, you've worked up, you've leveled your character, you've presumably had quite a lot of fun doing it at the time, but I don't know, it just frustrates me greatly that they make it so that you cannot do certain aspects in the game without doing things that they deem that you need to do first in what is meant to be an open world MMO. It's not a single player RPG with a solid story that backs it up. It's just time gating and it's play gating. You can only do this thing in the game if you first do X, Y, and Z. I'm not a fan. It's an MMO, you're supposed to grind. No. No. Just fundamentally no. Like, you're not meant to grind. Like, okay, it's that perspective of many players that is why that they get away with it in the first place. The reason why MMOs were so difficult to develop in the early days is because there were people that wanted to play them 24 hours a day. And the game developers were incentivized greatly to provide stuff for you to do 24 hours a day because they were charging you a subscription to play the game. Right? And they want you to continue to play that. Now what's happened in the last few years, very aggressively, is the game developers are not putting any more time and effort into making these games and providing there to be significant amounts of content for you to play. What they're actually doing is slowing down your ability to play it, e.g. grinding, so that they can provide less content and still maintain you as a customer. That's the entire... You've got to follow the path. You've got to follow the money. MMOs were super expensive to develop and create in the early days. This is why World of Warcraft had a monstrous advantage over everybody else. They were 5-10 years ahead of everybody else in terms of content. Now, there are other MMOs that have turned up in the last few years that are actually producing considerably more content than World of Warcraft is. Yet this mindset of, oh, it's an MMO, you're meant to grind, is just a get out of jail free card for the developers to not actually make content for people to play. And that's why many people leave, because some people, the grind just gets too much for them. And developers are trying to find where's that fine line between how much of a grind can we make people do before people quit, and we're going to get as close to that line as humanly possible. Didn't they hire 100 new devs by buying that company? I think they said that they wanted to make smaller, more frequent patches to combat the content droughts. Oh, I really hope that that actually plays out to be the case. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, there was some 100 new developers or something. I can't remember the name of the development company they absorbed, but yeah. Completely missed the alpha so far. Will it be possible to level 2 toons with 2 accounts in following? I've read something about it changing to following also. Will it be doable with the dragon riding thing? I think dragon riding is going to make it significantly more difficult to multi-box. The change to /follow, as far as I'm aware, is just the fact that you will no longer be able to have an add-on do /follow for you. It will require hardware input for /follow to be a thing. /follow will still be a thing, you just won't be able to have like an add-on do it for you. But yeah, dragon riding is likely to make multi-boxing a little bit more of a pain. But everything's doable. Whether it's optimal or viable to do it, though. Sunk cost fallacy is strong, though, which is why WoW continues. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, a good percentage of the player base now is players that have played this game for years and years and years and years and years. And there's definitely an element of sunk cost fallacy there, for sure. I would imagine their churn on new players is ridiculous, right? Your regular start the expansion hype, you know, when you get that massive spike of players at the beginning of an expansion, we've seen in the past couple of expansions, now not only for this one reason, but for a multitude of reasons, that a huge amount of players pick up the new expansion, but then a huge amount of players dip very quickly because they don't have that sunk cost fallacy. They don't have the fact that they've played the game for 10 years. They're just playing it like whatever's the flavour of the month. WoW is the flavour of the month. This month we'll play WoW, and then when it's not the flavour of the month, we'll go play whatever the big Twitch streamers are also playing as well. People that live in that cycle come and go really quickly. Most of the players of this game nowadays are pretty die-hard fans of the game. And that's why people get so passionate about it, right? This is the reason I sit here and I rant and rave about things that I would rather not be the way that they are. Because I have played the game for years. I've enjoyed the game for years as well, which is why I've done it. Which is why it's overly disappointing when you see them doing things that you know full well why they're doing it. And they're not doing it to create a better game. They're doing it to slow down people's progression. Because there's not enough actual content in the game. Or there's not enough content to justify you only playing this game and subscribing 12 months a year to it. Okay, so that's the next campaign. We should probably hand these in before we do the next campaign mission. Tell me something aside from PvP or Mythic Plus, which is not time-gated. Every time they release something for WoW, and Mythic Plus is time-gated for the first week anyway. Yeah, their aggressive use of time-gating is just getting out of control. Like I said, I made a big stink about it when Zereth Mortis came out. For the most part, Zereth Mortis was a good zone. Really good zone. And once the time-gating was out the way, it turned out to be quite a fun little zone to play with. As a patch piece of content, it served its purpose quite well, I feel. But it was greatly annoying that the entire zone was not playable in its full for 8 weeks. You know, they practically you know, you could do some things for sure, but they, you know, this staggered release of content into a zone for arbitrary reasons is just frustrating. Playing devil's advocate, isn't leveling playgating? I'm 100% with you on the time gating abuse, but isn't playgating how most games work? I've never played past the last level of Super Mario because I couldn't get past the first couple of levels. This is also why I've sort of said that they really need to consider how they look at leveling nowadays, because yeah, you are kind of right. And it's why as expansions have gone on in the last 5 years or so, they've made the speed of leveling dramatically faster than what it once was. For that exact reason, that they know full well that they don't have enough trust in the leveling experience to hold players' attention for long enough. There'll be data to back this up for sure. There'll definitely be data to back this up. That they'll have seen that there's probably, when somebody subscribes to the game for the first time, what level do they get to before they dip, before they bounce? Blizzard will easily be able to track that. And so what they'll have probably seen in the past is that any brand new player to the game would get so far and then they'd peace out. How long how long was it before they peaced out? Let's bring leveling down to that sort of level. And what it's ended up being is that you can probably buy the game on a Friday evening and have a max level character by Sunday evening. Is practically the way that they want it to be, right? So a weekend of play, a weekend of, you know, brand new game hype level play, right, will, for a new character, will get you a max level character. It doesn't take too much time nowadays. Now sure, I know world record speed leveling is like 5 hours or something. But let's not forget that regular Joe that just picks up this game that hasn't played it before probably won't have a max level character much before 12 to 15 hours of play, even if they're doing it, you know, relatively speedily. But that can be, you know, 5 or 6 hours a day for a couple of days. You'll have a max level character. At the very worst, it'll take you less than a week to get a max level character, I would imagine. And that's because they end load all of the content, right? The leveling is never been, or has not been, the main focus for many years now. It's the end game content that's been the main focus, and so people's drive is to get to that end game content. Oh, this quest was bugged the other day. I am going to do a bit of a reload on my UI to at least save my key bindings in case this quest is bugged and kicks me out again. Sub price is one, very high. The box price is also very high, and the amount of quality of content is consistently degrading. The leveling experience would be 50,000% better with voiceovers on quests. I do, like I said, I do think, not that I played Final Fantasy much, but I do think that they could really take a page out of Final Fantasy's book and focus more so on just telling a better story. Because, like I said, I'm all for leveling doesn't become a chore if you're enjoying doing it. World quests aren't a chore if you enjoy doing them. Rep grinds aren't a chore if you enjoy doing them. The problem is your ability to enjoy doing them is a lot more difficult when you've basically had the same thing. You have to do the same 4 things on repeat every day. You then have to, you know, there's no voice acting, there's no good storytelling. If I wanted to read a book, I'd sit down and read a book, you know. And even if I do sit down to read a book, I'll put that book down when I'm ready to put that book down, you know. There ain't nobody turning around and telling me, whoa, hang on, that was a... Study the item to increase your Dragon Isle's alchemy knowledge. Oh dear. I'm not an alchemist. And it's bind on pickup. Oh, that's annoying. I wonder if that's just not intended. Feedback. Acquired this item without being an alchemist. Was it for alchemy? Alchemist spelled like that? Probably not. Who cares? They'll get it. Make it BattleNet bound. That would also work. Looks like an Azerite splinter. Oh no. Oh no. Let's not go there. Farming Azerite power. I don't know. Maybe it's still the Monday morning in me. Maybe the caffeine hasn't flown quite as effectively as it could have done today, but I really hope that they don't lean too heavily into time/play gating to unlock the end game content. we doing with these? We're just slaying these things. Cool. I liked the Black Prince rep farm back in Mop for the cloak. You could just grind it to Exalted if you wanted to. If, like I said, this was the thing, right? It's, when they first introduced grinds like that, people were outraged. People outraged when grinds first became a thing. You mean I'm going to have to do this thing for like 25 hours to unlock X, Y, or Z? People were outraged. Why do I have to spend 25 hours doing this meaningless task that I don't particularly want to do to get this one reward? Okay, well the reward's good enough that I'll consider doing it. But then they leveled up, right? They leveled up from that. They were like, right, well okay, now it's not even acceptable to make people grind for something for 25 hours. Now we're going to make it so that you can only gain X amount of experience per day. So that you have to then now you have to split up that grind, so hopefully it doesn't feel as painful. Which I would argue is even worse than just having the grind there in the first place. The fact that you're then restricted to how much you have to do it. So there are some people that just like to rip the band-aid off, you know. If they see a problem ahead of them, something that they don't particularly want to do. I'm the same, right? Look at, on a Saturday, to give you a real life example, we clean the house on a Saturday, pretty much every Saturday. I hate it. I hate cleaning. It's gross. But so, you just do it, right? And you do it all in one go. We clean the house on a Saturday, then it's done. You've ripped the band-aid off, job done. What if you had to, like, you know, do small little doses each and every day of something you didn't particularly want to do? That's arguably more frustrating than just saying, right, I'm just going to get it done, and then it's done. And the reason I put forward this argument quite so vividly is because it's a video game. It's meant to be fun. Anytime a developer is making something in a video game without the primary reason being because it's fun, there's a problem there. And people need to shout about that problem. Lengthy grinds, time gating, these are features designed for free-to-play mobile games. They're not designed. They have no place in a game that you've already paid twice to play. If you buy a ticket to a music concert, you don't get to the music concert and then be told you have to do some meaningless task for an hour before the artist will come out on stage. No, you've bought your concert ticket. You've bought your ticket to the entertainment. Where's the entertainment? I don't understand why people give games such a free pass on this. You go out, you know, you subscribe to Spotify, you want to select a playlist and you want to listen to music. It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. Unless queuing counts as a menial task. Well, that, yeah, queuing serves its other purpose, right? If they could get everybody into the stadium in one go without people dying, they'd do it. But sometimes the doors only open so wide. That's just a logistics issue. But yeah, you're kind of right. One song per week and the last track comes out in a year? Yeah, exactly. If people launched albums like that, they wouldn't sell many of them. It'd be madness. It pisses me. A real good example of this. Who watches Better Call Saul on Netflix? Now, please, for the love of God, if you do watch it, this is a zero spoiler stream. Why? Because I have not watched the last season yet. I have waited until the last season is out. All of it. Every episode. I know that the finale has just recently aired. So now I have the ability to binge watch it like I want to. Right? I don't pay a Netflix subscription to then be drip fed one episode a week. Fuck that for a laugh. Spoiler, it ends. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. It is a bannable offence to spoil that program for me, by the way. I'm telling you that in advance. I'm making it very clear. Which show? Any that I haven't watched and that I care about. In this scenario, Better Call Saul. This is why I shouldn't play. This is why I shouldn't level characters. Ranthius comes out like real easy. The passionate side of me shows its face. Prefer to binge watch too. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, without question. I mean, it's why services like Netflix became so popular, right? Because people have the ability to do that. You are ranting a lot. Are you hungry? Yes. Yes. I like to play it off as passion. It might come across as ranting though. Who knows? The TLDR is quite simple. I really hope that the end game content in Dragonflight is not aggressively locked behind these faction reputations. And if it is, I'll complain about it until it changes. And then if it doesn't change, I'll do it anyway because I'm a sucker. And, you know, I'll just be part of the problem. But I tried. I don't see Gumdrops, no food yet. He's over in the States, isn't he, Mr. Gumdrops? I think he's I think he's on half vacation, half business trip or something at the moment. I'm not too sure. So you get everything for free. Just click a vendor, you get it. Gladiator title, 3k Raider IO, mounts 25 million gold. What do you do then? It's such a dumb take. Such a dumb take. You obviously haven't listened to a word I've said, because that's not what I or anybody else is advocating for. What people want is a video game that's fun and engaging to play, and, to use a phrase, you know, values the time and the money that you put into the game in the first place. Like I said, things like time gating, things like play gating, these are primarily ways to increase engagement. There's no feasible reason that they have any improvement to any increase in the amount of fun that you obtain in a game. Where in the world is this? I thought it was going to be up here, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's all the way down here. Okay, let's glide down here. This is one benefit of dragon riding, actually. You can get down places very quickly and easily. I like that. No longer do I have to rely on my hunter disengage skills to drop down long distances. Sad thing with the renowned reputations was that they were going to be account wide. Now Blizzard looks to have changed their mind and they are no longer account wide. Well, like I said, the early data mined info for them did indicate that at certain points along the track there was some, I think it was like at 10 or 15 points or something, there was some catch-up system in place for it that you gained more reputation. I can't seem to find it now though, which is, yes, likely to be the annoyance here. That we'll see how that plays out. Now the whole account wide thing is for me slightly different. I'm quite firmly I don't mind either way they take the account wide stuff. If they make, but I just want them to pick a direction. If they are going to make everything account wide, then make everything account wide. Make it so that you just have, you know, you can log on to alts and you're progressed in a similar fashion to as you are on your main. If that's the way you want to take it, then make it so. And I don't mind that. I'll play around that. Sure, it doesn't make perfect sense that you can be a hunter 1 minute and a mage another. But the be-all and end-all point is whilst you may have multiple characters, you are still one human being that's playing a game. If you've already done something once in a video game, you've earned the reward for it once already on a video game. I don't really particularly like the reason of having to grind it out again on and off. Alternatively, go the other route completely. Make it so nothing is account wide. Make it so everything on your character, you know, then people might pick a character and actually dedicate, you know, more focus to it. You know, take it back to the vanilla methodology. Maybe not quite as ridiculous as like things like mounts, collectibles and stuff. I think are fine to be account wide still. Running around collecting the same mount 12 times on alts was a bit gross, but like I tend to feel that if they're going to go in one direction, pick a direction, but I don't mind which direction they go. I just don't like them sitting on the fence. Some things being account wide and some things not, it's just annoying. There's no other way of describing it. It's just annoying. Why is one thing account wide and another thing that is seemingly just as important to me not? It's like, what's going on here? I remember I can't remember, probably sort of Wrath of the Lich King era. Wrath of the Lich King era was kind of the last sort of era where changing your character was a big deal. You know, if you played one class and you decided to go and play another, it was a big deal. You knew that you were going to have to dedicate a huge amount of time to leveling that second character, gaining the reputations you needed, gearing those characters up, doing whatever it was you needed to do. It was a significant investment, and it was then a healthy decision on whether you did it or not. And I think from an RPG perspective, that's the better way of doing it. It made people, you know, people were, you know, you were a night elf hunter, or you were an orc warrior. It was part of your persona. It was part of who you were as a character. Nowadays, oh well, I'm a PvPer, or I'm a raider, or I'm a mythic pluser. The way that you know, portray yourself is very different now. If you do mythic plus, oh well, you just play whatever class that is needed by your team and composition at the time. If you're doing arenas, oh well, this season survival hunters are OP, so I'm going to play a survival hunter this season. So people play the game in a completely different fashion to how they used to, more in a way that lends to everything just being account wide. And I don't, like I said, that's the scenario. I don't see anything wrong with it. They just need to pick one direction or the other. Like, go, don't sit on the fence, pick a side. I don't mind which side, just pick a side. How it worked in Wrath no longer really works. Yeah, which, you know, if they were... It would probably mean that on that basis, it would make far more sense for everything to just be account-wide. You are a World of Warcraft player. You play World of Warcraft, whether you play a mage or a hunter or a you know, a warrior or a paladin or whatever you play, whatever spec you play, shouldn't really matter all that much nowadays. The fact that you're devoting time to playing World of Warcraft instead of playing Fortnite should be enough, right? That should be enough for Blizzard. They've got your attention, they've got your money. That's, you know, the way that the business works nowadays. If you're, you know, back in Wrath of the Lich King sort of time, back in that sort of era, if you weren't playing World of Warcraft, what other MMO were you realistically playing? There was nothing that was even on the same level. Nowadays, there's loads of competition. Loads of competition. Do I need to do anything with these, or do I just need to kill them? Just kill them, apparently. Long time no see. What's easy mode for gold, mister? Easy mode for gold right now, I would arguably, it's gathering. There's no easier gold than gathering right now. It's not the most lucrative, but it's absolutely the easiest gold you can possibly make. Because whatever you go pick up, you can put on the auction house, and 62 minutes later, the gold will be in your mailbox. You genuinely can't get much easier than that. And nobody going to get rich anytime soon, but it's definitely the easy gold. The auction house is in tatters though, so yeah, about that. I can't remember the time when I was playing a particular class. These days feels more like a sports team manager, managing alts, working for the betterment of my account. I mean, if you're anything like me who plays with a lot of the professions and enjoys that, I mean, presumably the fact that you're here puts you in that category quite heavily, but presumably... Oh, did he just one-shot my pet? Son of a... For the longest of time, playing with professions has always been an alt-heavy endeavour as well. And, I guess, I mean, there are some, you know, there are some rough edges that would need smoothing out if you make everything account-wide for sure. But I do tend to feel that the pros far outweigh the cons. But the one big con for Blizzard is that if they make everything account-wide, people won't feel the necessity to do everything 2 or 3 times. And in turn, are unlikely to stay subscribed for quite as long as they do. Which, you know, once again, they're not making changes to the game because of the betterment of the game. They're choosing to not make changes that everybody in the game would like to see. They're choosing not to do it because it would financially make them less money. But, you know, I am ranting way too much today, so I do have to rein it in a touch, I feel. I do have to rein it in a touch. It's Monday. Nobody likes Mondays. We've got to go in here for some reason. We're going to go rescue some dragons, apparently, now. They put slow mode on posting on the auction house. The auction house is just in bits at the moment. Everything pretty much runs. Even if you can post things at the moment, even then it's not necessarily a guaranteed. So yeah, relisting things like Transmog at the moment is probably not all that pleasant. Oh, have we got to get the... Is it these eggs, is it? Bronze egg rescue. Here we go then. I think making it alt-friendly would potentially increase playtime. Well, it might do. It's a good counter argument. It might very well do. The obvious thing is as far as Blizzard are concerned, is it a risk that they're willing to take? And this is the thing, right? Is making the game more alt-friendly going to either make people play less because they can, you know, then they can quote unquote complete or do what they want to do and then be done with it? Or is that other side of the coin more likely to be the case? Will people play the game more because they will be, oh, you know what? Today I want to play a demon hunter. Let me log on my demon hunter. Let me go run some mythic pluses on my bear tank. Let me just log on my bear tank. None of this, oh, I'd like to play my bear tank, but oh, he's not got the reputation to do X, Y, and Z. He's not, you know, he's not. I've not done the campaign on that character, so I can't get into Zereth Mortis, or you know, there's none of this rubbish. Oh no, pet's dead. Pet's dead. Pet's dead. Retreat. You watch this rare won't drop anything. Oh, that was... Oh, well, no, that was just a rare. Is he going to give me anything? No. No. If stuff was account wide, I'd play my ults more. I pretty much just use them for mission tables at the moment. A lot of people are in the same position, you know. Even this far into the end of... Why can't I kill that thing? I don't know. Even this far into an expansion, there's lots of people, right, that tend to play the end of an expansion almost exclusively and don't bother with the start of it because it's at this point everything's unlocked and you can just kind of do anything that you want. But that does make it feel slightly weird for those players that have played the entire expansion. Like, unless you have literally played the game 8 times, your ults are kind of just in a weird position. They just feel odd. Lots of things feel odd to me at the moment. I'm not very eloquent with my words today, am I? Maybe we need to play Factorio for a week. Whoa! Get to some air of safety. Pet's dead. Pet number 2 is going to die in... There we go. Oh, now you need to go away. Shoo. Be gone with you. Oh, okay, what, okay. Not good, not good, not good, not good. Woo hoo hoo, clutch. Pop off, I'm not taking no risks. There we go. Woo, safety. We're good. One more egg, right. Pew pew you. Pew pew you. Pull all of this as well, because that worked really well last time. Give me my egg. There we go. Beautiful. Now where are we off to? We've got one more egg to claim, apparently. Is that one all the way over there? How do we get all the way over there? Looks like we're going up this way somewhere. Was this one at the beginning? Did we accidentally skip past this one? I think we might have done. There's a lot of gold doing cash quests for your covenants. They take about 10 minutes to do. You get 5k gold. If you got an alt army do them, you'll end up with a nice lump sum in the end. Callings are reliable, but most people outpace callings pretty quickly. Although now, right now, callings are probably quite competitive from a goal making perspective. There are some more hidden benefits to callings. Obviously, if you're continuously doing callings, you're also gaining reputation at quite a speed as well. And those Paragon caches add up over time, which which is something that a lot of people don't really consider. There's what, 3,500 gold in a Paragon cache nowadays. Not to mention there might be a pet or a mount or something cool in there that you're after. I wouldn't be spending too much time doing callings though, unless you are really desperate for gold. I think a lot more people heard them say in interviews and stuff that this would be account wide and there's going to be a lot of queuing on the forum. Yeah, well, see, this is it. Like, it's usually quite difficult, and this is why Blizzard are quite reluctant in many cases to be too publicly facing about any significant changes they're going to make, because they know that within seconds of them muttering something like account-wide reputations, the second they even, address the questions, there will be people clipping, snipping, and shipping, so that if it doesn't happen, there'll be recourse. This is why Ian Hazakostas does a lot of the interviews, because he's incredibly well PR trained for a lot of this, and he can come up with it on the spot. Some of the other developers are not so good at it. I mean, understandably so, right? They're developers. They're designed to be creative. They're designed to, make good video games. They're maybe not designed to, be too hot when it comes to public relations. And when to say the right thing and when not to say the right thing. It's incredible the amount of internet trade. Like, there's no such... You can't go to university and do a course in it. But I shit you not, there's some serious value to be had in just understanding how the internet works. Because it's been proven time and time again that people that are good at talking to the internet do well out of it. And I'm not necessarily referring to just streamers or YouTubers and stuff here. They're actually technically some of the worst at it. But people like Ian Hazakostas are very good at understanding how the internet works. And you can only gain that knowledge through years of experience. You can't buy that knowledge. And some people are just naturally better at it than others. This is why celebrities have to have, like, PR managers. People to tell them what they can and cannot say on a video. No, you can't say that. Please, for the love of God, don't say that. We'll hear about it on social media for the next 5 years if you say that. It makes me giggle. This is why streaming is hella dangerous. Anybody that streams for a serious amount of time is nearly guaranteed to slip up and do something stupid at some point. I'm amazed people like, the big boys, the people who are streaming like 160, 200 hours a month. Those people, I'm amazed they don't slip up and make more problems for themselves. Your XQCs of the world, it's absolutely shocking that guy doesn't just get cancelled on a daily basis. Tends to help that he... Well, yeah, exactly. Ian Hazakostas being a lawyer previously definitely helped. You can tell that definitely helped. But the reason he probably became a lawyer was on the premise that he was quite good at, thinking on the spot and coming up with a eloquent way of phrasing something to not give away too much. I'm better at it some days than I am others. For some reason, I'm terrible at it today. My brain does not want to work in any sort of logical order today for some reason. Oh, we're about to ding 63. It's Monday, we forgive you. Fuck you, Monday. Hey, 63. Hang on. We're being slapped here. Let's hold the phone. For me, that usually means a bad night's sleep. I don't know. I think I slept alright yesterday. I don't know. Brain's melted again. Whoa. Take me with you. You're a dragon. Just let me sit on your back. I've got to navigate this chaos myself, apparently. Brain's melt is 26 today, but it's going to be going up to 32 on Thursday. I hate anything 25 plus. It's I'm alright with the heat usually. It got to me a little bit last week though, I'm not going to lie. The humidity was high as well last week, which I think was the problem for me. But I tend to do alright with the heat. I'm not too bad with it. I should state, I'm not too bad with the heat as long as I have the opportunity to escape it at some point. You know, the opportunity for like cold water, a lake or the sea, or worst case scenario, maybe just, you know, like cold showers. Some element of escape from the heat, and I'm fine. But yeah, last week it got to me a touch. I'm not gonna lie, it was very hot last week. I'm hoping it's not the same this week because I've got a busy week this week. Summer looks to be pretty much done in Norway, at least where I live. It's still kicking here over in Finland, so I can't imagine it's too different. Amateur photography. Take photos of proto-dragons. Got myself a camera. See, this is my point, right? I've known that the photography thing is a feature, a zone related feature, but making a pre-made level 70 character on the alpha, you didn't have access to it, which is why I'm trying to play through the zones and level in a more natural fashion, because I heavily suspected that some of these features were not going to unlock until you'd done some prerequisite quests. What we got here? Wanted maps. Find the Everblaze Fireheart. Is that going to be like a 3-person quest again? They added a few more of those. Like 3- and 5-person quests. What have you got to sell me? Oh! Oh, it's Grandpap Whiskers! I accidentally found Grandpap Whiskers. See, I told you we'd find him. I told you we'd find him. Haha, not yet implemented. Requires renown 11 with the Dragon Scale Expedition. There's also... oh, there's 2. A black skitterbug and a grey marmoni. Tamed skitterfly. Teaches you how to summon this mount. This mount changes depending on your riding skill and location. Requires renown 25 with the Dragon Scale Expedition. Same for the Azure skitterfly. Get rid of some of this trash while we've got a vendor open. The problem as ever with WoW is that the base game without add-ons makes it ridiculously hard to pick up partially completed quest chains again. Well, usually what they tend to do is they'll slap a massive great big exclamation mark on your map. That's how they've kind of done it previously. Just to say, look, oi, you, go here, do this next. Which is, you know, some part of going to explaining what you should and shouldn't be doing. But yeah, they could definitely work on that. If there's breadcrumb quests, that's a hard thing to say 3 times. If there's breadcrumb quests that you need to complete to unlock something, it should always be indicated on your map that you should go and do it. Okay. Archivist's request. Oh no, not the archivists again. Who have we got in here? Toddy Whiskers. Head Chef Stacks. It's just a oh! Haha! I thought it was a cooking pot, and it's not a cooking pot. It's I don't know what it is. But it's a thing. Keeper of Renown. Can I see the renown items you have for sale? Reliquary banner. Deploy a banner. Requires renown 19. Okay. Locked behind renown still. I'm probably going to reserve my comments any more so on this renown thing until I've really had a thorough chance to test through it and play with it in a little bit more detail. But as it stands right now, I do definitely have concerns. I have concerns that the end game content is basically just rep grinds in disguise. And worse than that, being that they're going to lock actual core features of the end game experience behind these rep grinds, making them mandatory in a fashion. Mandatory in a fashion in such as that you have half the game available to you until you've done them. But we'll see. We'll see. What are all of these? Excavator's Mallet requires renown 3. Excavate, okay. Cosmetics behind the renowned thing. Researcher's magnifier. Oh, they're okay. Proto Drake appearance stuff, cosmetic-y stuff. Oh, you've got loads for sale. Soft purple pillow. These are toys, presumably. Requires renown 17. Expedition telescope, not yet implemented. Expedition binoculars. More customization stuff. More customization stuff. Okay. Alright. Well, I think then, boys and girls, because it's quite clear, it's quite clear that I might be hungry. I think I'm going to leave it there for today. We've done a little bit more leveling. We're level 63 now. We are, I believe we absolutely must be coming towards the end of what this zone has. I would imagine that now that we've hit level 63, it's about time to move on to the next zone. So we will continue leveling probably tomorrow. I presume this is our next zone, which I would imagine we're going to get into very, very quickly. Hopefully the auction house, as far as retail is concerned, will have some fixes, some implementations to make it less annoying to use. I really do hope that they get the auction house sorted ASAP. Whether people like to admit it or not, I think it's a real core element of the game right now. You know, it's where everybody buys the stuff that they need. It's where everybody sells the stuff that they collect. It's, you know, it's a core aspect of the game. Nearly everybody engages with the auction house at some point, so I do hope they fix it. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, boys and girls. I'm going to go get me some food. Thank you all for joining. Hope you had fun. Hit that follow button if you haven't already. I'm probably going to spend a bit of time looking at alchemy on the alpha, so expect a alchemy overview video, if not today, but tomorrow. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, boys and girls. Have a good one. I'll catch you all in a bit. Peace.